I woke up to screaming faces surrounding me, old men, young men, every kind imaginable. All around us, guys were getting beaten with heavy wooden boards, begging for mercy, swearing they'd have more children by next year. Memories flooded my head. That's when I realized I transmigrated, ending up in someone else's body, someone who shared my exact name. This new world was the Great Chen Kingdom, a fictional dynasty that never existed back home, not in any history book. It was pretty brutal. Constant, endless small wars had killed off almost all the men. Women now outnumbered men 9-1. The ruler, terrified the nation would die out, created harsh laws. Can you imagine? Every guy over 16 needed 2 wives. If you didn't produce children within 4 years, you got beaten and heavily fined, hence the screaming. Just then, a heavily scarred man in his 40s helped me up. He introduced himself as my uncle, Liam Macy. His face was deeply scarred from childhood smallpox. He told me not to worry about the beatings, saying I just needed to bribe the officers with some silver. Pointing at 3 groups of women, he explained. The ones on the left were pretty strong and healthy. The best picks, the middle ones were decent, while the ones on the right were far too thin and weak. Honestly, nobody wanted them. I almost laughed. By modern standards, those unwanted women, thin women would actually be considered the most attractive. But here, curves and strength meant absolutely everything. And then wait, my heart nearly stopped right here. Standing right there among the women was a familiar face. Li Xiaochun, right before my time travel. I had been on a blind date with this exact woman, sitting across from me in a fancy cafe, tapping her manicured nails, asking if I owned a house, a car, or $1 million in savings. When I shook my head, she literally poured her coffee over me, called me completely worthless, and walked out. Right after that, a robber appeared at the door, and next thing I knew, I ended up here. Could she have traveled through time too? She caught me staring, and her face fell. It really looked like she wanted to run over. But another woman immediately grabbed her, muffling her mouth and warning her to stay silent. Tears instantly filled Li Xiaochun's eyes. She stared directly at me, overflowing with bitter resentment. Watch, it's time to pick wives. Rich men rushed forward, snatching up the strongest women first. Learmatzi muttered a curse, furious that wealthy guys snatched all the best picks. Others nearby grumbled about a guy named Su Laozhen, who had already claimed 10 women, though he looked half dead himself. I looked over at Su Laozhen, the guy with 10 wives. He looked awful, with sunken eyes. Just skin and bones. Learmatzi joked the guy wouldn't last 2 minutes. I stared at those 10 sturdy women. Honestly, I seriously doubted he could handle any of them. Rich soil is useless if the farmer can't plow. Learmatzi was called up next. The finest choices were already long gone, so he ended up picking 5 from the middle group. I had to admire his massive ambition. Some wives weren't exactly young. I recalled from the original host's memories that widows who lost their husbands to the war and never bore any sons were simply sent back to be chosen again. Then, I suddenly heard my own name, Lindsay Fan. I stepped forward alongside the other boys my age. We were all incredibly skinny and poor. By now, less than 10 women remained in that middle, and the unwanted ones on the right were totally ignored. Everybody avoided them, terrified they could never bear children. The boys rushed forward, shoving each other, while I walked slowly. Hurry it up, Learmatzi barked at me. Up on his platform, the county magistrate quietly stroked his beard, pleased with their frantic eagerness. But then he spotted me, the only kid not rushing. Then he noticed him, the only one not rushing. By the time I reached the front, I frowned. The middle group was totally empty. A scrawny guy walked toward the rejected women, sizing them up like he was buying cheap fruit. The women pleaded with him desperately. Sir, please choose me. I barely eat, and my family has 3 sons. They fell straight to their knees. Looking at their crying faces made my heart ache. A dark weight settled in my chest. If we do not step up, these poor women are doomed. Who would save them? Maybe I should take everyone. But before I could even speak, that trash of a man kicked one of them. She slid across the dirt, sobbing in pure pain. He spat insults, calling her completely worthless. Right then, a familiar voice cut through. Sister, are you okay? I smiled. Li Xiaochun, my old blind date, the coffee-pouring queen herself. She knelt beside the injured woman, who turned out to be her sister. The poor girl was still crying, looking up helplessly at the guy who kicked her, desperately hoping he would take her. But Li Xiaochun glared back, like she wanted to burn him to ash. The scoundrel just laughed, telling them both to kneel and beg him. if they wanted any chance at survival. Li Xiaochen nearly exploded, but her sister quickly covered her mouth and held her down. Do you want to end up sold to a brothel? Her sister whispered that, terrified. That shut Li Xiaochen up, making the man grin. He looked extremely smug and threw another insult. Now watch how I step in. I knelt right down in front of Li Xiaochen, gently lifting her chin. She stared back, her eyes wide, and flashed her a little smile. The exact kind that said, remember me. She recognized me instantly. I watched the emotions flash across her face. Pure shock, then frustration. If she had one major regret in life, it was definitely that blind date with me. She only agreed to meet because I looked somewhat decent. And now, both of us ended up here. Her younger sister begged me to take them in. We don't eat much. We will work hard. Please, sir. But I kept my eyes locked on Li Xiaochen. It is not impossible, I said. But that depends on her. Her sister pinched her waist. Beg him, she urgently hissed. But Li Xiaochen bit her lip and flatly refused. Looks like your sister still thinks I am beneath her. I calmly said, I will pick someone else. I stood up, turned, watch this. Her sister completely broke down crying, hitting Li Xiaochen. Are you trying to ruin us both? Li Xiaochen's eyes welled with tears, staring at her sister's desperate, completely tearful face, and something inside her finally snapped. With a heavy thud, she fell to her knees. Please, take us in. Seeing Li Xiaochen finally kneel, I did not feel any real satisfaction. Sure, our blind date in the modern world was absolutely awful, where she poured hot coffee on my head for no reason. But I already chewed her out. That chapter was closed. I smiled at the two sisters, and told them I would take both of them. Lao Ma rushed over, completely panicking. Are you crazy? Those two are the thinnest ones here. They cannot work, and they cannot have kids. You're just asking for trouble. He pointed over to other young women nearby, who had slightly fuller, healthier figures. At least pick those two instead. But get this, those two girls looked at me nervously, and then pulled a third girl forward. All three knelt together, bowing deeply before me. Sir, we may be very thin, but we are healthy and hard-working. Please, take us three sisters in. They looked alike, their fine features hidden under dust, and sun-darkened skin. Lal Ma grabbed my arm. 3 more. You will get 50 strikes. But what if they don't have kids? Your weak little body won't survive. I pretty much rolled my eyes. Why was everyone so sure I couldn't father a son? If one day wasn't enough, I'd keep trying. And if the nights weren't enough, we'd use the daytime. I refused to believe hard work wouldn't eventually pay off. Fine, you three can come along too. Watch closely, because here's where things got totally wild. Every remaining woman rushed forward. They knelt down, desperately begging me to take them in. I was completely stunned as Liamots jumped back in fright. Looking at all those desperate faces, those tearful faces made something stir inside me. Feeling a man's duty, I opened my mouth. All right, you can all come along. Suddenly, Liamot slapped his hand over my mouth. Are you insane? He hissed. What are you feeding them? Air. Your family can barely survive as it is. He actually had a point. Maybe I did get carried away. Then the county magistrate walked over, laughing heartily. He'd actually been watching me the entire time. At first, he thought I was just lazy because I walked so slowly. But now, he was pretty impressed by my sheer ambition. Young man, your spirit is truly admirable, he said, patting my shoulder. But you're still young, so take these 5 for now. This selection event happens twice a year, so you can come back for more next time. The magistrate had spoken. I agreed, but man, those unchosen women looked totally heartbroken. 3 of them fainted right there. A woman nearby tearfully explained the truth, that anyone who wasn't chosen would be sent off to the entertainment house, basically, a brothel. She thanked me deeply for saving her and her sister from that terrible fate. I desperately wanted to go back for the 3 who fainted, but Liamots dragged me away instead. 5 unwanted wives is already enough trouble. Let's go grab your silver instead. So, I walked away with 5 new wives, and 3 taels of silver. If you ever asked me how a regular man, who couldn't even score a single date, ended up with 5 wives and pocketed cash for it, I'd say the trick is pretty simple. Just travel straight through time. But the massive celebration was short-lived. 3 silver taels sounded like a fortune to the original Lin Zi fan, who never touched real cash in his life. But feeding 6 mouths, it wouldn't last long. I had to find a quick way to make money. Still, I refused to believe a modern guy, with nearly 20 years of education, couldn't figure out a way to survive. In ancient times with 5 wives and 3 silver taels, Honestly, who wouldn't want to trade places with him right now? Leah Mosey kept on saying. These poor girls couldn't have children, because they were way too thin. I just smiled. These locals had pretty strange taste, ignoring these graceful beauties, and chasing after much heavier women. Besides, everyone already knows. The guy usually determines this kind of thing. Modern celebrities are thin as toothpicks. And they still have plenty of kids. We walked back home in silence. Those 5 women, following right behind me with their heads down. When we arrived, I was absolutely shocked. The yard was surrounded by just a few broken branches, serving as a fence, and the house itself was just a shabby thatched hut. There wasn't even a proper gate, just some sticks tied together with rope. Husband, is this truly our home? Li Xiaochen's older sister asked very carefully. Yes, I said, after years of war. Life is pretty tough for everyone. Then Leah Masiai called out from right next door, standing right in front of a grand courtyard, made of solid bluestone. My mouth twitched, so it wasn't that everyone was dirt poor. It was literally just me. Made sense though. Men were highly valued here. Back then, families with multiple wives had plenty of working hands, so they lived quite well. In fact, Liamatsi's huge estate was entirely wife-built. Right then, one of my women spoke up softly. Don't worry, husband. One day, we will build a house even bigger than that. She stepped right past me and gently pushed the gate open. I really appreciated her protecting my pride. But then, Li Zichen walked over, wearing her usual mocking smirk. No house, no car, seriously. Zero savings in the modern world or ancient times. You're still exactly the same. And yet, you were greedy enough to marry 5 wives. How can you even feed us? I just stared at her. She sneered, nothing to say, huh? A broke man is always going to be broke. I simply ignored her and walked inside. Inside, the other 4 wives had already gotten to work. One swept, another aired the bedding, and a third was already boiling some water over a fire. Seeing me, she flashed a very sweet smile. Please sit down, husband. The water will be ready pretty soon. She gently led me to the only stool in the yard, leaning quite softly against my arm. Her delicate scent completely wrapped around us both. Hearing her soft voice call me husband made my heart skip. I gently touched her hand and she froze. Her face flushed red, head dropping shyly. She quietly said there wasn't enough bedding for everyone, but the others offered to go fetch some from their old family homes. I nodded and thanked them. But look, the moment I thanked them, they flinched like I had said something truly terrible, almost kneeling down in pure terror. I didn't get it, but one quickly explained. Husband, she trembled. You literally saved me from a truly horrific fate. Serving you is my ultimate duty as your wife. Please, never thank me like that. Apparently, in this weird world, wives fully serve their husbands, never the other way around. Everything I knew had just been flipped upside down. With that, 3 of them went to fetch bedding. The girl tending the fire quietly introduced herself. Meet Shishir and her younger sisters, Sis and Yen Yen. Shishir, I shivered at that. The name sounded just like a pretty famous actress from the modern world. And looking at her face a bit closer, despite her darker skin, her features were stunning. I shook my head at the irony. Back in my old modern life, I could not even land a girlfriend. Yet here, I had somehow married multiple beauties. Right then, Sis brought me a warm bowl of water. You were busy all morning. Let it cool down a bit before drinking. Such a simple act of kindness, but it hit hard. Honestly, what happened next completely stunned me. Shishir brought over a wooden basin, carefully mixing the water to get the perfect temperature, testing it with her hand before placing it at my feet. Before I could even protest, she knelt right down, taking off my old shoes and socks. She rolled up my pants and slowly guided my feet into the soothing warm water. I just sat there, totally paralyzed. This sweet, gorgeous woman was washing my feet, calling me husband and genuinely caring for me like I mattered. 30 years of being totally single in the modern world. Seriously, absolutely nothing compared to this. Shishir's hands were incredibly soft as she washed my feet, and the warm water made my ears turn bright red. She was blushing pretty hard herself, too. Meanwhile, Sis gently blew on the hot water in my bowl, tested the heat, and carefully held it to my lips. I was only drinking plain boiled water, but it tasted way sweeter than honey. She even used her own sleeve to wipe my mouth. Between sips, I felt totally dizzy. One absolute beauty was feeding me water, while another gently washed my feet. Even an ancient emperor did not have it this good. Once the water was gone, Shishir gently dried my feet, then sat on a small stool to give them a massage. Luxury service, I thought. But then, Li Xiaochen and her sister Zidin returned with bedding. Seeing Shi massaging my feet made Xiaochen stop. She exploded immediately, asking how they could sink so low. Before she could finish shouting, a sharp slap silenced her. Her very own sister had just struck her. "You actually hit me," Xiaochen gasped in total shock. Meanwhile, Shi and Zidin glared right back. Zidin quickly dragged Xiaochen to her knees. "Please, husband, forgive her. She is just foolish," but Xiaochen refused to stop. "Look at this dump. He owns absolutely nothing. Why are you even begging?" Zidin struck her face several more times. "How dare you? If you want to throw your life away, do not drag me down too." She turned to me, bowing aggressively. Her forehead slammed against the hard floor, turning red. "Please do not be angry. She is not truly evil. I will train her properly." I simply stared at Zidin. My humble courtyard is far too simple to host such an elite lady. "So, Miss Xiaochen, please find another shelter." Zidin turned completely pale and begged even harder. Xiaochen still tried to complain, but her sister quickly covered her mouth, angrily ordering her to beg for forgiveness. Right now, watch how pure terror finally filled Xiaochen's eyes. She had been warned how this brutal place worked. Women only had 3 options here. First was marrying a husband and bearing him sons. That brought basic safety. The brutal pleasure houses, entertaining demanding guests day and night. And the third option, absolute nightmare fuel, exile. Wives thrown out by their husbands had 0 protection. No legal status, no rights. They were treated like mere property, passed around until they finally died. And nobody cared. Xiaochen was trembling violently. Days had already passed, but she still could not accept it. For men, it was absolute paradise. But for women, a complete nightmare. All she really wanted was to go home. Tears streamed down her pale face. She looked up at me with those big wide eyes. Truly pitiful. Then I noticed a dark bruise on her sister's forehead. She bowed so hard it made my heart soften. I thought about things pretty practically. We were so poor, and another person meant one more pair of helping hands. But if I actually kicked Xiaoyan out, it would completely ruin things with her sister. "All right, everyone get up," I told them right then. Louis and Yin walked in carrying a huge bundle of bedding. Clothes, pots, pans, basically everything. Shi and Cease rushed over to help them unload. Yeah, Yan had even brought along their leftover half bag of rice. And let's be honest, we had barely any food. She softly said this should last us for 2 days. I felt a sharp sting of shame that we were this poor. We barely had food, and Lirmitsi's words echoed in my head. Just what are you going to feed them? He was not wrong. I only had 3 taels of silver, but that would never last very long. These kind women were my family now. I wanted them to thrive. Real food, a proper, decent home. Not these leaky, thatched huts held together by mere hope. Saving money just wouldn't do. I desperately needed to find a way to make money. Time for quick math. Regular grain cost 500 coins per shur. 1 shur equaled 120 zhang. With 3 taels only, I could only buy 720 zhang. With 6 people eating 12 zhang every day, that meant my funds would last roughly 2 months. And that was only for plain grain. No meat at all, and you know that wasn't enough. I had married 5 beautiful, kind-hearted women, and every single one deserved a great life. Back in the modern world, marrying just one of them would feel like winning the lottery jackpot. So, I set a tiny goal first, having delicious meat on the table daily, and eventually, a grand 2-story house, at least 100 times bigger than Liamotz's. I even imagined making little wooden name tags to choose who would keep me company each night. The mere thought made me smirk. While I was daydreaming, soft hands gently massaged my shoulders. The pressure was absolutely perfect, sure. Her sweet voice whispered softly in my ear. "Husband, are you tired? Let me help you relax." Her gentle fragrance drifted over me. She felt so close, and so warm. I simply couldn't resist. I turned, pulled her close, and quickly kissed her soft lips. "Keep teasing me and I won't hold back," I teased with a grin, making her blush crimson. "Husband, it is daytime," she stammered. I chuckled, letting it go while pulling her close by the waist. I seriously couldn't understand the local people here. Can you believe anyone would ignore a goddess this graceful? Then, my stomach growled furiously. This body I had taken over was practically starving. The original Lindsay fan was just incredibly weak and sickly, meaning a sudden scare actually ended his life. No wonder, I guess I forgot to eat, I muttered, awkwardly scratching my head. Union instantly jumped up. We will cook for you. She grabbed the cheap grain she'd brought and rushed to the kitchen with Cease. The kitchen was just a tiny hut with one big pot under a thatched roof swaying in the wind. It looked ready to collapse any second. Yet, neither of them complained once. Their husband did not mind that. Others claimed they were completely barren, so they would never complain about a broken house. Sure stayed behind with me. She massaged his shoulders, worried he looked too weak. She really did not want to become a widow on her very first day of marriage. He tried to tell her he was fine, but a sudden wave of dizziness hit him hard, so he just sat back and let her take care of him. Between the cool breeze and her incredibly gentle touch, he fell asleep. When his eyes finally opened again, the dinner table had been placed right in front of him. His women sat around it quite quietly. Only Li Zichen stared at him with obvious annoyance. "Husband, would you like to eat now?" they asked, and he nodded. They brought out a huge bowl of steaming hot rice, served up in this battered, worn-out old basin. Since they did not even own a proper bowl, he pulled it close and took a big bite. Then he frowned. The coarse grain was pretty hard, bland, and absolutely nothing like modern meals. "Watch her." Cease goes completely pale with fear. "Did I cook it wrong? Is it already cold?" She looked terrified that he might throw her right out. Yan Yan rushed over to defend her. "Please do not send her away. She will do better." Suddenly, Shir stood straight up. She grabbed her sisters, and all three dropped to their knees with a thud. "Husband, please do not drive us away. She will be more careful. Please forgive her." They were literally about to press their foreheads down. His heart sank. All he did was pull a face at the food, and they actually thought he was going to throw them out. "I am not angry," he told them quickly. "The food is actually good. I just haven't had a meal like this in quite a while." He waved. "Come over." He took her hand and sat her down right beside him. Her forehead was already red from bowing. Look at her eyes, wet like a scared rabbit. He gently wiped her tears and kept eating. After taking those first few bites, he could not stop, going days without food made. Even plain, coarse grain tastes pretty amazing. I practically inhaled the food. Li Xiaoqun cautiously tried a bite too, but grimaced. She was pampered, and definitely hated this basic grub. But before she could even complain, her sister smacked her face again. Xiaoqun looked completely shocked and hurt. She had only taken a single tiny bite. Her sister knelt down, lecturing her. "No eating before your husband. Did you forget the rules?" I searched through the host's old memories to find how this kingdom worked. Get this, women only eat after men. Doing so was considered outright theft, which meant death. Only mothers who had given birth could dine with their husbands. At my side, Xiaoqun's sister panicked completely, thinking I was angry. She raised her hand to strike Xiaoqun again, but I stopped her. "It is fine. In my house, we ignore those rules. Everyone eats together." The wives stared at each other, stunned. Cease spoke up. "Husband, please eat. We are not hungry." Right then, a stomach growled incredibly loud. Cease blushed bright red and stared at her feet. Soft words were useless, so I got tough and walked inside. I brought out enough chopsticks and spoons for everyone. The women turned completely pale. "Husband, we cannot dine together. We just got married. You are my family now. That means you have to obey me, right?" "Yes, anything. Just please do not cast us out." "Good, then I am ordering you to eat." They exchanged worried glances before slowly picking up their spoons, taking tiny, careful bites, terrified of appearing greedy. But they licked the entire bowl clean anyway. When I stood up for seconds, they bolted to their feet. "Let us handle this, husband," bringing out another steaming hot bowl. After 2 bowls, we were all 60% full. Sure, even let out a tiny burp. See, these poor women had not eaten in ages. With food scarce, women always ate last and least. That was why they were so thin. After years of hunger, I burped as well. Feeling totally satisfied, I suddenly heard crying. It was Sure. I walked over and gently lifted her chin, with eyes all red and wet. Her nose twitched. "Why are you crying?" "I am just so touched," she whispered. Tears kept falling. "My father never treated my mother this kindly, but you let us eat at the same table," and wiped my tears. "I will work hard to repay you." Then her face grew dead serious. "Husband, if none of us bear children after 3 years, we will take responsibility. There will be no trouble for you." Xiaokun's sister, Xiaoren, was also crying. "We know that nobody wanted us. You were kind enough to take us in. If we cannot bear sons, we will not let you suffer for it." Xiaoshan just stood silently with her head down, saying absolutely nothing. I pulled both crying girls close and held them. Staring down at their tearful faces, I sighed deeply. Seriously, who told you not having a son is the woman's fault? They all stared at me, completely stunned. C spoke up first, confused. If we cannot have a son, is that not on the woman? Could it be the husband's? The moment she said it, she slapped herself hard. I am sorry, husband. I did not mean to doubt you. I sighed softly and walked over to her. Gently, I brushed her reddened cheek. Cease, you are my wife. Everything about you is precious. Never hurt yourself again without my permission. Understand? She looked at me. It seemed like no one had ever spoken to her like that before. Bearing a son isn't just the wife's job. I told them it mostly depends on the man. Don't worry, I will protect you no matter what, and we will have sons. They blushed deeply. Next, I laid down some house rules. We eat together, and we share the labor, and nobody gets hurt. They nodded quickly, making me feel quite satisfied. Then I looked around our new home. Bare walls, and nothing worth stealing. We all wore heavily patched, worn clothes. Our marriage silver wouldn't last long. You see, we needed a plan before winter. The house needed repairs, plus meat and vegetables. Real food, not just cheap, coarse grain. I wanted to buy every wife 2 outfits. All of this required money I didn't have. But I wasn't worried. Nearly 30 years studying, with a master's degree and a scientific mind. This tiny ancient village wasn't going to beat me. Sua noticed me frowning. Husband, what's wrong? Just planning our future. I replied. She offered to check our farmland. She suggested mixing cheap grain with wild vegetables. Since I had married 5 wives, the village had actually granted us some land. Fast crops could help us very soon. Then Li Xiaoqian couldn't hold back anymore. Is this stuff really food for people? Even pigs wouldn't touch this stuff. Her sister Zhaorong slapped her face twice. Xiaoqian cried out, then turned on me. If you have no money, why marry so many wives? Do you really want us all to starve? Zhaorong's eyes immediately filled with tears, but this time, she slapped herself hard. Crazy, right? Zhao King was completely shocked. Zhaorong looked at her with deep disappointment, and reminded her of what happens to women thrown out here. No protection and no status. Treated far worse than brothel workers. Xiaoqing shrank back and knelt down, but the apology just would not come out of her mouth. And things worsened. A sudden, shrill scream echoed from outside. I immediately stepped out through our flimsy fence. A barefoot woman with messy hair and bloody feet appeared. She was running from a massive man swinging a broom. Crimson blood splattered on the dirt behind her. My wives shrank back in absolute horror. That beast knew. The neighbor spotted me and flashed a yellow, rotting grin. He sneered, Zifan, I heard you took 5 unwanted women. Look how weak they all are. They cannot work or even bear children. Stepping directly in front of my wives, I blocked his view. Uncle Danu, my wives bearing children, is absolutely none of your business. His face darkened instantly and he spat toward me. He grumbled that he was only trying to help me out. I did not flinch. The old Lin Zifan would have cowered on the ground, but I was not him anymore. Sua, knife. She froze, then quickly ran to the kitchen, and she returned holding a very chipped kitchen knife. I slowly weighed it in my hand, and waved it toward Danu with a casual smile. I remarked that the dull blade made him step back, sighing dramatically. No parents, a broken house, and a weak body. Seriously, who would even want a life like this? Uncle Danu, what is even the point of living like this? His expression shifted instantly. A desperate man with nothing to lose is always dangerous. He muttered some threat about me begging for trouble, and bolted after the poor woman he had been chasing. With him gone, my wives felt deeply relieved. You just know they were all thinking the exact same thing. Compared to absolute scumbags like Danu, maybe I was not so bad. Sua and her sisters looked at me with deeply grateful eyes. Even so, Suran kept worrying about her stubborn sister. But even she seemed more at peace. I put the knife away and smiled warmly. Come on, let's go visit the village head. We headed over to the home of Lida. He is easily the most respected man in the village. The second he saw me and my wives, he just sighed. Zifan, are these really your choices? Hearing that, my wives immediately looked down in shame. And honestly, they knew exactly what everyone thought, and wanted women who couldn't even bear sons. They felt like they only brought me disgrace. They're fine, uncle. I told him we just came to see what land is available. Lida, the village head, shook his head, warning me that the best spots were already gone. We had arrived too late, and rules were rules. First come, first served. Even Liam Macy, who acted so friendly earlier, kept totally quiet and quickly snatched up his own share. Talk about a pretty fake friend, right? What is left? Lita took me out to check the area. The land here was split into flat fields and hillside slopes. The flat fields were highly productive, but since they were gone, only the low-tax slopes remained. With such terrible harvests, nobody wanted them. He pointed toward a massive slope right near the mountain. This section is still completely free. He offered to give me a larger plot to make up for the poor quality. Then, naturally, Lee Danu showed up. He was still pretty sore about that whole knife incident, and desperately wanted to humiliate me. Do you seriously plan on farming this absolute trash land? He laughed, but I ignored him. Instead, I simply asked Lee Da if any other plots remained. With another sigh, he led me toward the southern mountain. The soil there was somehow even worse. It was heavily overgrown and clearly abandoned for years. But as I walked around inspecting the area, suddenly, I noticed something. Look at that, one side is completely bare. There were barely any weeds or trees, and the few surviving plants had completely dead leaves. I crouched down to get a much closer look. Lita nervously approached me. He muttered that nobody knows what is wrong there. The elders claim this land is totally cursed. Cursed? I just raised an eyebrow. As a modern man boasting a real science degree, I didn't buy into curses. I simply scooped up some soil to smell it. Ledanius noticed my sudden interest, and his eyes immediately lit up with a scheming look. You really want this total wasteland? He kept talking absolute trash, calling me crazy. I gave him a cold stare. I asked what it had to do with him, which drove him absolutely insane with rage. Puffing his chest, he dared me to take it. He vowed to eat his hat, while looking like an idiot. Why would I even want your head? If you are serious, let's bet some cash. He hesitated, while my wives quickly crowded around me, tugging tightly at my sleeve and begging me to stop. They insisted absolutely nothing grew here, calling the land totally useless. Sharon pointed toward the neighboring plot, where at least some weeds were growing. Yin Yin and Cease both begged me to pick another land. Danius saw their panic and got a wicked idea. He figured if I took this barren land, I would be stuck paying taxes on useless dirt. I would regret it and quit eventually, giving him an easy win either way. He offered to Silvertails. If I take it, he pays me too, but if I quit halfway, I owe him 4. Lita tried to stop me, warning Zifan. Do not be rash, Tenu smirked. What is wrong, Lita? Scared, Zifan? This land is hopeless, so even if you quit, I won't call you a coward. Lita was furious at Tenu for provoking me, but before he could stop the bet, I spoke up, addressing Uncle Lee. This land isn't that bad, but the bet is too small. Make it for tails and I will consider it. Daniu's eyes flickered with pure greed. He figured if I could not pay double later, with 8 tails, he could claim my wives as payment. You can tell he was totally giddy. I pretended to hesitate. Uncle Lee, let us just forget it. Daniel jumped in immediately. A 4 tails deal, but if you quit, you owe me 8. I nodded. All right. Lita immediately tried to talk me out of it. My wives begged me to stop, but I agreed cheerfully, holding out my hand. I want that silver now. Daniel's face tightened. 4 tails was 10 years of savings for him, but he still handed it over. I snatched up that silver and grinned so wide, it probably blinded him. Uncle Daniel, thank you for your incredible generosity. He glared back at me. You will have to return it sooner or later. No worries, I replied. You will not live to see that day. With the contract signed and fingerprints pressed, I walked away, humming a tune. Those 4 silver tails jingled in hand. My wives were not nearly as happy. If we do the math, 60 acres is huge, which meant 10 loads of grain and taxes next year. The soil was dead, that even weeds could not survive on it. They thought I had lost my mind. Poor Shershur walked beside me, trying to stay calm. Husband, these fields will not grow anything. Even weeds die here. Why did you even lease this land? I smiled, gently pinching her cheek. Smooth as chocolate, husband. I am being serious, she protested. Blushing, I just laughed. Dear Shershur, I never said I wanted to plant anything here. Her eyes went wide. Not planting anything. Then why even lease it? I leaned down and kissed her quickly on the lips. Sweet. She turned instantly crimson. You are teasing me again. That side with weeds. We will figure out what to plant later. I told her, but this bare half. No planting today. Trust me, there is something great underground. She just stared at me, completely unsure whether to believe me or worrying more. When Shaoran and the others arrived with tools, I grabbed a shovel and headed up the mountain. Shershur sent Yan Yan to follow close behind. She was easily the strongest of the sisters, and could keep me safe. I found the driest, most barren spot and started to dig, but Yen Yen rushed over and took the shovel from me. Husband, digging is pretty rough work. Let me do it while you rest. Yen Yen gently pushed me aside, rolling up her sleeves, and dug like a complete machine. Dirt piled up fast beside her. I stood there holding the shovel, watching this slim girl outwork me completely. Something felt pretty wrong about this picture. Should I not be the one sweating? If my single friends back home could see this, they'd absolutely lose their minds. I tried taking over. Let me do it, husband. I am not tired, she said, wiping sweat with the back of her hand. Smiling brightly, she flexed her thin arm. See, I am strong. A small muscle showed, compared to my pale, weak body. She really was stronger. But as she clenched her fist, I noticed something. Wait, a scar on her wrist. My eyes darkened. I did not say anything yet, but I made a mental note. My woman, my responsibility. Nobody hurts her. She went right back to digging, and I knew arguing was completely pointless. So I stepped back and picked some grass, stuck it in my mouth, and lay down nearby. With legs crossed, I watched her work, humming a little tune at first. I felt guilty. I wanted to change my wives' thinking, make them stand up tall and proud. But watching Yen Yen glance at me between shovelfuls, smiling even while sweating, I finally understood something. These girls really wanted to prove their strength. It gave them a real purpose, so who was I to stop them? Besides, living like a lazy slacker wasn't bad at all. Blue skies and fresh air, a gentle breeze. Honestly, life in ancient times was pretty comfortable. Meanwhile, on the hillside, Li Shaoqian was fuming as she watched me loafing around while Yen Yen did everything. She nearly exploded. Sister, look at him, he is shameless. She hissed at Sharon, but Sharon just patted her head. What is wrong with your husband resting? Taking good care of him is our duty. Shaoqian just stood completely stunned. You see, her sister had fully accepted this world's rules. Sharon's face turned quite serious. I will not beg for you anymore. You already know what happens to women who leave. If you really want to go, I won't stop you. But you won't last long out there. That shut Shaoqian right up, and her hands started trembling. Without her sister, she'd be totally finished. If you want to stay, Sharon said quietly, then serve your husband well and listen to him. Suddenly, Yen Yen shrieked in surprise. I immediately jumped to my feet as everyone rushed over. I cannot dig any deeper, Yen Yen said. There is something really hard down here. I quickly pulled her up and jumped into the hole. I crouched down, touching the rough surface below. Grayish-white stone, feeling slightly warm. My heart started racing, and I demanded the hoe. Sure, right away. She handed it over, and I hacked at the stone. It was not too hard, but still tough to shatter. Yan Yan offered to take over, but I shook my head, needing to see this myself. If I am right, we are rich. The girls stared at each other, thinking I had gone mad. Just some stones on a mountain. What is so special about some rocks? But Shaoqian stretched her neck, trying to peek into the hole. You could practically see the gears turning in her head. A mine. Her face immediately flushed red with excitement. If there really was a fortune waiting down there, we would finally eat meat instead of coarse grains. Lin Xiaofan, she suddenly called out. What kind of rock is this anyway? You should have seen Ziqian's eyes light up there. She was pretty sharp. She knew limestone was fantastic for building stuff. If this mountain actually held a massive deposit, we could get ridiculously rich. We might be rich, she screamed happily. Sharon and Shu both looked skeptical. Shu shook her head as well. If it was limestone, people would have mined this place ages ago. I figured it might be a brand new type, so I suggested we dig some out to test. Luckily, I knew how to process limestone from school, and from all those modern-day videos I watched. The secret was calcination, baking it at the exact temperature. I just needed to build a kiln. The ladies still weren't fully convinced, but Zidane eagerly pushed them forward. This dry land can't grow crops anyway. We might as well try. I wanted to dig, but Yin Yin hauled me straight out of there. Husband, this brutal work is too tiring for you. Go rest, Shu. Shu agreed. We can do this. Honestly, Yin Yin was way stronger, and she quickly dug out several chunks. The women easily hauled them back, while I grabbed one rock and headed home to design the kiln. On the village path, I ran into Ermazi and Danu. They were just lounging, each getting shoulder massages from their doting wives. Danu sneered, What is that anyway? A useless rock. Are you so poor you're treating stones like gold? Ermazi tried to sound genuinely concerned. Zifan, I heard you bought that dead hill. You should give up. I only smiled back. He hadn't warned me about the land when it mattered. Talk about some peak hypocrisy right there. No need to worrying about me, Uncle Lee. Daniel just laughed, looking at the stone I carried. Why carry rocks yourself? What are your wives for? They are useless, way too small. Right then, he smacked the woman behind him, hard on her backside, yelling to work harder. Her face immediately flushed red with shame. A cold anger rose in my chest. I glared and told him women are meant to be pampered. Only a useless coward beats women. Cease had just stepped outside and heard my words. Her eyes pulled with tears as she looked up, struggling not to cry, while Daniel snorted. Pamper them? You must be insane. Armachi quickly changed the subject instead, asking about my rocks. I replied that I wanted to rebuild my kitchen. He agreed it definitely needed work, joking not to let wine blow it away. I nodded, turning to walk away. Neither of these fools was worth my time. Then I spotted Cease carrying a basket. She looked incredibly shy and flustered. Husband, I smiled gently, telling her to go ahead. Don't overwork yourself, or I'll feel bad. She whispered a quick reply and hurried off. Cheeks pink, I chuckled. Did I do something? She seemed so embarrassed. Behind me, Daniel spat. He and Armachi just continued their idle chatter, mocking me and calling me stubborn, claiming my wives could never have children, and that the harsh county punishments would break. Like me. But then watch this. Daniel spots his wife staring. His ugly face twisted with rage. He raised a massive hand and swung it at her face, yelling at her for looking at another man. Threatening to beat her, Daniel ripped off his shoe and began brutally thrashing his wife with it. She screamed and ran, while Armachi just watched, grinning with his nasty yellow teeth. Nearby, another woman trembled in absolute terror. By now, rumors had spread all over the village that I had brought home 5 unsellable wives. Everyone was just waiting for me to fail. That afternoon, my wives kept walking back and forth, hauling stones down from the mountain. They just laughed, thinking I was only trying to patch up my broken house. A few creeps kept staring dirty at my beautiful wives, whispering how they could not have kids. They looked better than any brothel girl. Honestly, I did not care what they thought. I was busy out back digging a deep hole for a clay kiln. Trust me, my past life knowledge comes in handy. So it was quite easy before sunset. The girls finally returned, immediately snatching the heavy tools from my hands, pushing me aside before I could even complain. Shaoran brought over a stool to massage my tired legs. Sure started gently kneading my tight shoulders. CC quickly ran to boil some water. Soon, Shaoran was washing my feet with warm water, as Sure kept massaging my shoulders. I let out a relaxed sigh after working all day. It felt amazing, while Shaokan watched us from afar, grinding her teeth since we both traveled through time. Why was I living like a king, while she suffered? CC brought over some perfectly cool drinking water. I was honestly too exhausted to even open my eyes. She gently held the cracked bowl right to my lips, and I drank without even raising a single hand. It tasted so sweet and fragrant. After resting, I arranged the broken stones inside the kiln. I lit the fire, making sure everything was safe. Dinner tonight was just mixed grain rice and porridge. CC had made clean bamboo bowls, from the bamboo shower and cut earlier. But wait, did you notice my bowl had rice, while my wives only had watery, thin porridge? I frowned. Why are we not eating the same food? Sure. Rushed to explain, husband. We are not hungry, we are quite used to porridge. I stared at her, demanding they change mine to porridge too. In this house, everyone eats the exact same food. No differences. Nobody even argued. We just ate our porridge together. The wives kept quiet, but I could tell they were deeply touched. After dinner, Sure spoke up. Sure asked if they really should keep digging for rocks tomorrow. I nodded, then pulled out my savings. 3 taels from the state, plus 4 from Daniel's bet, 7 total. Tomorrow, I will visit the city, to buy brand new bedding, and 2 sets of clothes for everyone. Meat, vegetables. We cannot eat coarse grains forever. But their faces quickly shifted. Sharon spoke up carefully, husband. Winter is coming, and there is absolutely no way to make money. Maybe save the silver for grain instead, and just survive until spring. I smiled. Do not worrying about money. I have plenty of ways to make it. They exchanged quick looks, polite smiles barely hiding their doubts. How could this sickly man make actual money? But he was their husband, so they nodded. Remember the big kiln outside? I said, dead serious. Once we turn those gray stones into lime, that is real money. They just stared. Broken gray rocks turning into lime. Heated with firewood, it sounded like a game. Definitely not real work. But they simply did not want to crush my sudden confidence, so nobody argued. Do not worrying about money. I am here, I said. Time to sleep now. Then, things got weird. Normally, someone would agree immediately, but this time, all five went silent. Their heads dropped, faces completely red, hands nervously clutching their clothes. I just stared, confused. Look, 30 years of being single had left me entirely clueless. Finally, Cher spoke up, whispering in a voice barely louder than a mosquito. Husband, tonight is our wedding night. So, who should be the first one with you? Last night, I woke up to the smell of food. When Cher asked who I would spend our wedding night with, I nearly died of pure embarrassment. 5 gorgeous wives, all just waiting. But we just met, and I seriously could not choose. In the end, I hugged each one of them warmly and said, "No rush, let us just get to know each other first." Relief instantly washed right over their faces. So, on my wedding night, with 5 wives in the house, I still ended up sleeping completely alone. By morning, Cher and I agreed to head into town. But the entire way there, she kept talking about saving our money and not spending way too much. She had even taken complete charge of our silver, like a little housekeeper. Her mouth never stopped. I watched those sweet lips and got a wild idea. "Watch out," I said. Suddenly, she froze with her mouth open in surprise. I pulled her close by the waist and kissed her, right there on the road. She pushed me away, blushing absolutely furiously. "Husband, we are in the middle of the street." I just grinned. Much better now. She glared up at me shyly, face completely red, but she looked so incredibly charming that my throat went dry. No joke, this girl will be the death of me. The town was only about 10 kilometers away. For any normal farmer, that is just an hour's walk. But with my weak body, it took us a whole hour and a half. When we finally saw those massive town walls, I was completely drenched in sweat. Cher pulled out a handkerchief and gently wiped my face. Want to rest? Pride stopped me from admitting I was dying. I am totally fine. The town was called Dago. It had defensive walls about 4 meters high, required because of the constant wars. 2 bored soldiers were just leaning against the gate. Inside, busy shops lined the main road, and merchant stalls were set up everywhere. Cher seemed pretty familiar with this entire place. Cher told me she and Yin Yan came here often to buy basic supplies for their family. Just 2 young girls walking all this way alone. "Weren't you ever afraid of wild animals?" I asked, but she smiled proudly. "Yin Yan is pretty strong. She learned hunting from our father. Regular beasts can't beat us." That definitely explained Yin Yan's muscles, but it reminded me of those scars on her arms. My mood darkened. "How did your family treat you?" I asked Cher carefully. Cher's face fell, saying her mother was kind. But she only had 3 daughters, no sons. That made her father pretty angry. His sister and her son beat them pretty often. I clenched my fists. If I ever met that family, they would absolutely pay for it. Cher led me to the biggest grain shop in town. Baijia Grain Shop was grand, with a fancy sign and workers standing at the entrance, waiting for clients. A rich man walked up, and the workers rushed to greet him with big smiles, fighting over who got to serve him. The shop had strict sales targets. Workers who failed to meet them got their pay cut. Rich customers meant fine grain and big tips. Then, Cher and I walked up to the entrance. Patched clothes, pretty dusty faces. We clearly looked poor, so nobody greeted us. One worker just glanced at us and pushed their youngest employee forward. "Ziyu, go serve them, consider it practice." Ziyu was only 12 or 13, small and shy, rosy-cheeked. This was her first day. She had no clue her seniors were dumping the worthless clients on her. She clenched her fists, smiled sweetly, and led us inside. Personally, I didn't mind being ignored. In my past life, I faced plenty of rejection during job hunts and blind dates. I was totally used to it. "Z, you showed us 3 grades of grain. Low at 400, regular at 500. Premium is 600 per stone." Esni, whispering that the price was quite fair. We checked out the low-grade grain first. Rough, full of husks, hard to swallow. Next was regular grain. Better, but still coarse. Finally, at the premium section, I grabbed a handful. Clean and high quality. Clearly meant for wealthy families. Esni, what do you think?" I asked her. Behind us, a servant snickered loudly. "He is playing rich. He is wearing rags, yet browsing premium grain. Probably doesn't even have 600 coins." Then, their eyes locked onto Esni. Her face immediately flushed with anger. making her look even prettier. They began making crude remarks about her gorgeous figure, calling her unsellable trash. My eyes went cold, stepping in front of her, blocking their view. Usni. She tugged my hand. She tried pulling me toward the cheaper grain. Husband, this is pretty good, but it's too expensive. Since you like it, we are buying it, I said. 6 stones, clerk. The clerk froze mid-sentence. Sir, 6 stones. Of premium grain, we do not give credit. I smiled, pulling out 2 taels of silver. Esni quickly tried to stop me, but I held her hand, intertwining our fingers. Her mind seemed to completely short-circuit. Her face instantly turned the color of sunset. We had only known each other 1 day. Holding hands in public was just too much for her. The clerk eagerly reached for the silver, thrilled. Selling 6 stones on day 1 was huge. But right as her fingers touched it, watch this. I pulled back. Panic filled her eyes. Sir, make them apologize first, I demanded calmly. I nodded toward those mocking, arrogant servants. Otherwise, we're taking our business elsewhere. Turning to Susu. Susu, want another shop? She blushed, realizing I was defending her. Yes, she whispered softly. Zero went pale, rushing to her coworkers. They'd been openly gossiping about paying customers right there. If their boss found out, they'd be completely finished. So, swallowing their pride, they quickly came over to apologize. I handed the silver to Zero. She quickly snatched it before I could even reconsider. Please wait, I'll pack it immediately. Look at them. Stunned. Where did this ragged kid get so much silver? 6 shy of premium grain. Was more than they'd sell in 10 whole days. Their faces burned red. Just minutes ago, they were mocking us. Now, those same servants scrambled to pack our massive purchase, bowing with fake smiles. Attitudes flip so fast, right? Once silver appears, within 10 minutes. That is 6 shy, 720 jin. Too heavy for us to carry, so I told them to hold on to it. Zero beamed. Sir, for purchases over 5 shy, we deliver for free. Just leave your name and address. Even better. She ran to tell her boss, returning with a clean cloth bag. It was a gift of 20 extra jin of grain. I nodded, thanked her, and headed out. But Susu sighed. Husband, that was nearly for silver taels. We only had 7 taels. If you bought cheaper grain, we could have gotten to more shy instead. I pinched her cheek, smiling softly. We have a gold mine of stone at home. Why worrying about money? She blushed, but argued back. We do not even know if it is actual limestone. And even if it is, we still have to mine it, process the stuff, and find buyers. Patting her head, I leaned close to her ear. Just eat well. Take care of me and give me some little ones. Hearing that, she shivered. With her legs going weak, I caught her waist. This girl really knew how to make my heart race, but someone had to ruin the moment. Well, if it is not the unsellable goods. Turning around, I saw a teen boy sneering. Sure, flinched, pressing herself close to me. That is my younger brother, she whispered. Lorgo. He really did look a bit like her, but his mouth was foul, mocking sure, for being so useless, saying their father got beaten every year, because their mother could not produce sons, and that the sisters should have been abandoned in the mountains. As babies, he even waved a grain bag before us, bragging away. Sure trembled with rage, but could not fight back. She had been bullied by this boy her whole life, and he kept going, insulting Cease as well, calling her lazy, claiming she would never have enough food. My eyes grew ice cold. Keeping calm, I looked at him and quietly called him dog. Is this how you normally treat your sister? Puffing up his chest, he said, so what? Going to stand up for her, and watch his face completely lose color. Wait, what did you just call me? Say it again. Ergo was the spoiled only son, tall and strong from years of hunting, and used to pushing everyone around. Being called dog made him completely furious. He stepped forward, trying to look scary. I simply glanced past him, and spotted the town's security guards, marching right toward us. Perfect. I channeled every bit of power into one fist, and buried it deep into Ergu's gut. He doubled over, clutching his stomach. His face went pale. He never expected his scrawny, ragged brother-in-law to actually punch him in public. His eyes flared with rage as he wound up to strike back. Then he saw the guards closing in. He backed off and growled. You are dead. I smirked. Oh, it is definitely not over yet. Watch this. I took a quick step back, collapsed onto the dirt, and clutched my belly, groaning in fake pain. What is happening here? The guard captain demanded. I pointed at Ergu with a shaking hand, gasping. Sir, this brute just assaulted me. I barely said a single word before he hit me. It hurts so bad. Ergu's jaw literally dropped. What? No, I didn't. He hit me first. The captain looked at me, thin, pale, and shivering on the dirt. Then he eyed the big, muscular Ergu. Seriously, who would you believe? You are coming with us to the magistrate. Ergu protested, but they did not listen. One guard kicked him while another whacked his head. Look at his frail body. He would never fight you, even if he had 10 times the guts. Stop lying, and they dragged Ergu away. He turned around and screamed at Sure. Sure, from this moment on, we are finished. You get absolutely nothing from me. More punches quickly shut him up. Once they disappeared, I stood right back up, casually dusted off my ragged clothes, and grinned. Just a little lesson: next time he targets you, it will end much worse. Now, help dust me off, okay? Sure giggled and called me a master actor. Of course, your husband has plenty of hidden tricks. Time to buy some clothes. I am totally sick of people looking down on us. The streets were packed, with merchants selling fresh carrots, sweet candied hawthorns. We walked into a clothing shop. The owner was a friendly woman in her 40s. She showed us different fabrics. I picked out a bright red one first, and some simple black for myself. Does red suit you? I asked her. She chewed on her candied hawthorn and shook her head. Red gets dirty way too fast. Black is better since you do not wash it often. Good point. No washing machines around here. Winter laundry, pure misery. Fine, black fabric, 2 sets each. I agreed. My wife nearly choked on her hawthorn. 2 sets? One is plenty. You can have to and rotate them, husband. I frowned. 1 set? Per person. When do we even wash it? Right. And honestly, guys, she totally convinced me one was enough. Washing cotton clothes in winter totally ruins their warmth. And there are absolutely no washing machines here. We just buy fabric and sew them at home. Fine, once I sell some lime, I will buy more. We picked up a tin of meat and walked around town, asking around about lime prices. 1 shy of lime sold for about 650 coins. Very similar to premium grain. Pretty reasonable, since it is mainly used for building. But check this out. A limping kid entered a pharmacy. Blood was dripping from his leg. An old man nearby shook his head sadly. Such a tragedy to lose that leg. I was utterly confused. Can they not just stop the bleeding and bandage it up? The old man explained that all bleeding control medicine were sent straight to the front lines. For the war effort, regular shops had none. My mind instantly started racing back to my previous life. I had grown up in the countryside and learned some folk remedies. One recipe used lime mixed with a very specific herb to make medicine that completely stops bleeding. If this kingdom desperately needed that kind of medicine, I could make some serious money. But first, I had to see if that herb grew here. On my way back, I took a few detours through the hills, and sure enough, there it was growing on a hilltop. Just like that. Have you ever seen this grass before? She studied it closely. That is for item grass. You can't eat it. No special use. It grows everywhere, but never in big patches. I grinned. I can use this to stop bleeding. Her eyes immediately went wide. She knew exactly how valuable that kind of medicine was, but she still looked pretty doubtful. This weed was common as dirt, and literally nobody had ever found a use for it. But watch her face change to pure admiration. First, that limestone nobody else believed in. Now, making medicine from a weed nobody wanted. Her eyes practically sparkled now. I stood proud. There is an 80% chance it works. Let's gather some and try. We collected what we could and headed home. As the sun was setting near the village gate, Lita greeted us quite warmly. He noticed our tiny bag of grain and offered to lend us his ox cart next time. That way, we could bring back a few hundred yuan for winter. I agreed gratefully. Just a few steps later, we ran right into Danyu and Ermatsi. Danyu rushed over, acting like a concerned elder. He pointed at my small grain bag and clicked his tongue, asking if I was already saving up 8 taels for him. Then, look at where his eyes go. Right at her, staring at her body with a totally disgusting look in his eyes. I gave him a cold look and said nothing. Armatsi chimed in next, offering to help me find cheaper grain at the market stalls. I smiled politely. No need, uncle. I knew those cheap stalls only sold the absolute worst quality. Anything decent went directly to the actual grain merchants. At 370 coins, nobody sold good grain on the street. Keeping my cool, I just walked right past them without another word. I had my lime to check on back home. Behind me, they started grumbling. That kid has 0 manners. We are his elders, yet he ignores us. Completely offended, like their fake kindness earned real gratitude. Back home, the yard looked completely different. They had rebuilt the kitchen using four strong pillars, safe from collapsing now. A giant mound of limestone sat right outside. Turns out, the girls worked all morning digging. Seriously, having 5 hard-working wives is a total cheat code. Sure immediately rushed over with fresh water. Gently washing my feet, she noticed my raw blisters and frowned. She begged me to let her handle town errands. Honestly, I felt so embarrassed. We walked the exact same distance. But here she was, treating me like I was fragile glass. Once we settle down, my sisters and I will find work to support you, she promised, making me sigh. I insisted that I could make my own money, but she simply would not believe me. Meanwhile, the other wives spent the entire day hauling heavy rocks, and that creepily Danu harassed them outside, watching them with pure greed, even trying to get them to live with him. Unregistered wives had absolutely no legal protection in this world. He could treat them however he wanted. Yan Yan almost threw a punch, but Sharon stopped her, since hitting a man would bring serious trouble from the local authorities. Danu got even bolder, thrusting his face forward. Go ahead, hit me. So I did. I stepped up and slapped him hard across his face. First time I have ever seen someone beg for that, I remarked, shaking out my hand. His skin is pretty thick, Yan Yan. Blow on my hand for me, and her eyes lit up. She grabbed my hand and blew on it so sweetly. Danu was completely stunned, then furious. I stared coldly, telling him to respect my wives. Next time, I won't just use my bare hand. He remembered yesterday's knife and immediately backed away. Just you wait, he snarled. Then he ran home for dinner. Sis cooked the premium grain and meat we bought. White rice drenched in meat broth. That mouth-watering aroma quickly drifted across the entire village. My mouth watered just looking at it. The starving women stared at the food, eyes red. Shersher and her sisters had rarely eaten meat before. Any food always went to the boys first. Sharon suddenly started crying mid-bite. What is wrong, Sher? Sher sobbed, telling me this was actually her first time ever eating meat. Father and brothers went to war, Sharon sobbed. They never returned. Her mother froze to death one winter. She and Zichen had survived alone ever since. A heavy weight pressed on my chest. Being born in this era was simply cruel. Men died in wars, and women were treated like property. For a split second, I wanted to save everyone, but I quickly shook that thought away. No special powers, and no tools. All I could do, take good care of the people standing right beside me, and make their lives much better. Step by step, after dinner, I told all the women about the 4-item grass, and my plan for hemostatic medicine. Xiao Chen asked if this medicine was actually valuable. Xiao Ran quickly scolded her. With all medicine sent directly to the front lines, regular folks have nothing to stop their bleeding. Just think, if we make this, we'll be rich. Zichen's eyes instantly sparkled with hope, but I could tell she still secretly doubted me. The others were worried too. We spent almost all our silver on premium grain and meat. Instead of saving it, Sharon cried again after dinner. She was so grateful for the food, but terrified our money wouldn't last through winter. She didn't believe in the lime or the medicine, but she kept quiet just to protect my confidence. Just as the sun set, a strange donkey cart appeared at the village entrance. The village chief, Lida, went over to check. The driver claimed he was delivering premium grain. Lida was baffled. Absolutely nobody here ordered any grain deliveries. Then it hits him. Could this be for our boy? But why would that broke kid buy so much food? He actually needed a whole cart. Seeing the village chief standing there utterly clueless, the talkative driver explained. They were from the 100 Families grain shop. Delivery squad. If anyone buys over 5 stones of premium grain from their shop, they will deliver it right to your door for free. Today, a teenager around 15 or 16 named Lin. Someone showed up with a pretty girl to buy some. The village officer froze. 15 or 16, with a pretty girl. That has to be Lin Zifan. Did he seriously buy over 5 stones of top-shelf grain? What a massive waste. The chief actually felt pretty annoyed. Literally every single family here was doing better than Lin Zifan, who only had a little silver to his name. And he did not even save it. Everyone loves good grain. But once it is gone, what then? Like, do they just sit around and do nothing now? By the way, where does that kid live, and who is he? I have never heard of someone like him in this village. The driver inquired once more. This was not out of curiosity, but because his boss had ordered him beforehand to dig up information on this mysterious beer. If possible, His name is Lin Zifan, a local here. As for his home, just go straight from the entrance, and the first house at the top is his. Realizing the chief did not know much, the driver shrugged and drove his donkey forward. Li Amazi and Li Danyao, who were hanging out on the street, spotted the donkey cart and immediately got super excited. Entertainment was pretty scarce here, and the women were all busy working in the fields. The kids just came out to play, gossip, and have some fun. Since sitting around at home all day was incredibly boring, they absolutely loved playing out on the streets, keeping a close eye on everything happening in the village. Li Danu approached and asked, "Hey brother, what are you guys doing in the village?" The coachman saw someone trying to talk to him, so he stopped his cart and answered, "Just delivering some grain here. Our village had a great harvest this year, so nobody is buying grain in bulk right now." Li Danu asked him. The coachman thought for a second and answered, "I think his name is Lin Xiaofan. He bought 6 shy of top quality grain, and our grain shop has a rule. If you buy more than 5 shy of top tier grain, we will transport it completely free." Wait, he actually bought 6 shy of top tier grain. Li Danu was immediately shocked. Then he remembered. He had just been talking about finding cheap grain for the guy. Who would have thought this kid would buy 6 shy of top quality grain all at once? Turns out, he did not hesitate to buy so much grain, not because he was broke, but simply because he could not carry it all himself. As you can imagine, Li Danu was completely stunned by this. From what he knew, Lin Xiaofan only had 7 taels of silver on him, and 6 shy of top-tier grain would easily cost him nearly 4 taels of silver, plus that expensive cloth he brought home today. He probably barely has any money left over. How on earth is he going to pay back his 8 taels now? He could not sell him off. Could he, with his weak build and that broken house? Even selling his body would not make much money. Thinking about this, Li Danu realized his 4 taels of silver might be completely gone. He suddenly became extremely anxious. Seriously, why is this kid being so damn wasteful? If he keeps going on like this, how will he pay me back? Absolutely not. I need to go find him right now and get my silver, he muttered angrily. He was ready to march straight to Lin Zifan's house. Brother Danu, calm down. Demanding your silver right now won't help at all. Besides, he hasn't officially lost the bet yet. Lir Matzi quickly stops him. Li Danu realizes that going there won't solve anything, but he's still absolutely burning with rage. All 4 taels of his silver are just gone. How did this happen? He grumbles and storms off home, even leaving his lounge chair behind. Wait, who exactly is this Lin Zifan guy anyway? The coachman looks at Lir Matzi. He's still nearby and asks. The kid is a penniless orphan. He eats today but has absolutely nothing for tomorrow. Just go see for yourself near the village entrance. The most rundown shack belongs to him. Lir Matzi replies, feeling the whole conversation is useless. He'd rather just go home to his wife. Still, seeing Lin Zifan eat so well hurt, he felt pretty jealous inside. As the coachman brings the grain over, the mouth-watering scent of fresh meat fills the air. He takes a deep breath right at that moment. Lin Zifan just finished eating. His wives quickly carry the grain inside. The tiny place is already completely packed. Suddenly seeing all this food, the women don't actually feel very happy. Instead, they are just incredibly worried. Even so, their husband is incredibly kind to them. If times get tough, they can handle it. Maybe even find some work outside. He treats them so wonderfully well. They really can't let him down. Watching his wives stay busy, Lin Zifan just sits calmly on a small wooden stool in the yard. He looks up as the sun slowly begins to set. With a completely cloudless sky, the night will be bright. Years ago, there were no city lights or heavy pollution, so the moon and stars shine incredibly bright, easily lighting up the dark pathways. But if clouds roll in, it gets pitch black. Pretty much pitch black. The sun was barely up, and he couldn't stop worrying about his lime kill, hoping it was doing fine. Back in school, he studied theory and watched videos, but he was still uncertain, without seeing results, especially now that he had brought his wife home. Under the laws of this country, he was safe for 6 months. But with war brewing, nothing was truly guaranteed. Officials could raid the village to draft soldiers, forcing families to send men or pay up. He had no clue when war would start, but he absolutely had to make cash before then, because if he got sent away, it would literally mean certain death. With his weak body, he would just be cannon fodder. To survive, he had to secure silver first. He refused to die before enjoying his life. Thinking of this brutal, ancient era, Lin Zifan headed to the backyard kill he built yesterday. Since time was tight, he built it quickly. It was pretty small, but definitely enough for his tests. Once he mastered both the temperature and the timing, he could build a much larger kiln. The absolute key to making lime was controlling the fire. If it got too small, the lime would turn the wrong color and fail to stick. But get this, if the fire is too big, the batch would shrink too much, ruining its look and wasting resources. Plus, he had no coal right now, so getting it to the right temperature would take ages, driving up his experiment costs. "Hubby, what are you doing?" Suddenly, his thoughts were shattered. Lin Zifan looked up and saw Lucier standing there. Sure, and several others stood behind him. Seeing him wander out alone as night fell, they got pretty worried and followed him. Seeing how genuinely worried everyone was, Lin Zifan felt a warm rush and smiled warmly. He calmly announced it was finally time to open the kiln. "Let us handle this kind of heavy lifting. You should just rest over there," Li Yanyan insisted. She stepped forward to help him open the hot kiln, but he stopped her, saying it was fine. He preferred doing the very first run himself. Honestly, he was quite excited about this first run. Seeing him so incredibly eager to start, the ladies decided not to push further. As long as their beloved husband was happy, that was plenty. They all stared at the clay kiln with tense hope. Though he claimed he could make lime with this, they remained pretty skeptical. The odds of this working felt incredibly slim. But if it did, their brutal days of struggle would finally be over. Honestly, a simple little dirt mound. Could it actually produce real lime? Li Xiaoqian struggled hard to keep her mouth shut. Seeing how blindly the other women trusted Lin Zifan, she couldn't. Back in her past life, she had seen proper industrial kilns on television. Those things were easily as massive as a house, but this tiny mud pile of Lin Zifan, what could that possibly make? "Shut your mouth, Xiaoqian." Li Jiaoran instantly glared and cut her sister off. She had sworn before that she was completely done shielding her sister, but with their mother gone, they only had each other left. Could she actually abandon her? Seeing that Lin Zifan paid no mind, she finally exhaled. Clearly, she still had to babysit her troublemaking sister, or disaster would strike eventually. Lin Zifan stepped up to inspect the kiln. The wood inside had already burned down completely. Since the night was pitch black, he could only peer into a dark, empty void. Finding him standing there in silence, everyone else crowds around to take a look. But the kiln's inside is pitch black, absolutely no lime. Total failure, apparently, though his wives feel quite disappointed. Totally expected. Their husband had spent his whole life here. He probably never even saw a limestone mine. So mistakes are totally normal even if he's smart. Producing real lime isn't exactly easy, especially on the very first try, husband. It is fine. Everyone fails on their very first attempt. Yeah, nobody ever taught you. So failing is perfectly okay. We just need to try again. Right. We've got plenty of strength left. If this try doesn't work, we'll just try again until we get that lime. Husband, you've already done so well. Gotta love how incredibly supportive his wives are. After all, he's only doing this for their sake. He just wants them to live better. If he gets discouraged now, that'd be pretty bad. Wait, did I actually hear that right? Lin Zifan, you're actually making lime. Harsh laughter echoes from behind. It's Li Danu and Lia Masia approaching. The two of them were out for a night walk. From far away, they noticed people gathering in Lin Zifan's backyard, so they headed over to inspect. Eavesdropping on the chat, they realized Lin Zifan was trying to make lime, but his attempt seemingly ended in failure. Li Danu had been pretty annoyed with him lately, and since a perfect opportunity just presented itself, you just know he's gonna talk some trash. Lia Masia was only there for the drama, happy to join in the mockery. Zifan, I'm not trying to hurt your feelings, but do you actually know what you're doing? In that head, making proper lime isn't for ordinary villagers. Instead of wasting your precious time, go back to planting more crops. Your brain is much better suited for farming. Li Danu says, acting sincere, pretending to care like some wise village elder. Besides, a limestone mine is pretty much off limits to us. The government officials keep a very close eye on them. Do you even have actual limestone? He glanced at some boring, colorless rocks nearby and burst out laughing. Zifan, you do not actually think these are limestone, do you? Oh, this is gold. Limestone is not gray. You dragged these random rocks from the mountain and actually think you can make lime. Are you insane? Hearing their husband get mocked, his wives instantly got furious. Whatever my husband decides to do is none of your business. Who says he can't make lime? Lu Yanyan, who possessed a pretty hot temper, was utterly furious. Hearing Lee Danu throw shade at her beloved husband. Haha, you seriously think your man can make lime? You are all absolute fools, girl. Producing lime. It is not as simple as gathering some random rocks from the mountain, especially with a husband like yours, who has been bedridden since childhood. Him making lime, that is completely impossible. But since they actually dared to argue back, Lee Danu became even more confident. Convinced that Lin Zifan could never produce lime, he felt totally free to insult him without holding back. What is his deal? Why are you hauling heavy rocks home every single day? Initially, I assumed you were just building a house, but you are actually trying to make lime. Oh, he is going to regret saying this. No wonder you chose such a remote, deserted hillside. It is pretty hilarious. If your useless husband actually pulls this off, I will cut off my own head and let you kick it around. Lu Yanyan and the others were instantly incredibly angry, but they honestly could not reply. Since their husband had not actually produced any lime yet, the entire village was remarkably quiet at night, despite the fairly loud noise from earlier. The local neighbors had certainly heard it, and crept out to see what was going down. By now, quite a crowd had already gathered. Once they realized what was happening, the gossip started. Everyone agreed Lin Zifan was being pretty unrealistic. He actually thinks he can make quicklime. Has he gone completely money mad? This is delicate work, requiring passed down secrets. How could he possibly do it? No wonder his poor wives were busy hauling heavy rocks. Real quicklime? No way. It cannot come from random stones. You have to wonder what he is thinking. What else? It makes no sense. He has been weak and bedridden since childhood, so of course he does not know any better. Watching the whole crowd point fingers at Lin Zifan, Lia Mazi smirks, his face full of mockery, but he still speaks with a fake elder's tone. Zifan, if you really need some money, I can help you find work. Sure, it is exhausting, but at least earning a living is easy. Leave this skilled craft business to the real professionals. But Lin Zifan completely ignores all their noisy mocking chatter. He just keeps digging inside the clay kiln. His eyes suddenly light up. Watch this. Reaching deep back inside, he pulls out a white stone. And Lee freezes. Laughter stops. The crowd goes dead silent. What is that? Lee Amazi stammers in shock. Rushing straight forward, he snatches the stone right out of his hands, staring in disbelief. He had never actually seen anyone burn quicklime before. Back when the village built houses, rich families bought raw quicklime. This stone, it looks just like that. But was Lin Zifan a failure? Did he not fail at this? This is impossible. It is just some look-alike stone. Quicklime, Lin Zifan says calmly. He sounds incredibly casual. Everyone commented on how lovely the night was. Actually, this is quicklime. Listen to that hiss. The moment he spoke, everyone gasped in shock. Is this stuff really quicklime? Did he actually succeed? Using only these dusty, broken up rocks? That is absolutely impossible. This kid is just a sickly nobody. He never leaves home and has no experience. He has probably never even seen a real kiln. Let's be real. How could this sickly kid make that? These are ordinary stones. Ladani stood stunned and quickly denied it. Quicklime requires limestone as its raw material, and perfect control over the flame. It takes years of experience to burn it properly. How could someone like Lin Zifan possibly do it? The village chief pushed through the crowd, carefully inspecting the stone. He touched it directly with his hand. His whole body trembled with excitement. This is real quicklime. Back when I was young, I once went into town to build a house for a wealthy family, and we used this exact stone. I checked it very carefully back then, and it looked just like this. I cannot be mistaken. The second the chief finished speaking, the crowd erupted in shock. Is this possible? Did Lin Zifan really make quicklime? Can you believe he actually has a secret method? That is not easy. I heard it is quite difficult to produce properly. They say the method of making quicklime is passed down through generations and never shared. He is just an orphan kid with no parents, who has never once left this village. How could he possibly know how to make it? Whether he is bluffing or truly talented, he actually made it, and if he did, it means there is limestone. On that mountain slope, Lin Zifan has struck absolute gold. But wait, that barren ground doesn't even have grass. Could there actually be real quicklime buried inside? Hey, didn't you see his wives digging out there lately? Who would have guessed that such a dull, boring looking rock could actually turn into valuable quicklime? I heard that the price of limestone is pretty much equal to good grain. If they mine every single stone from that mountain, how much insane money would that make? Honestly, looks like Lin Zifan is getting filthy rich. Damn it, why do I never get this kind of insane luck? Anyway, we should quickly go flatter Lin Zifan. Maybe we'll get some sweet future perks. Zifan, I have a daughter who is 16 years old. She is still young, but she is quite capable. Would you consider her? Li Danu was so incredibly shocked he just stood frozen. For the longest time, he simply could not believe Lin Zifan actually produced real quicklime. Hearing how the villagers were already trying to flatter him, he grew pretty anxious. This clueless country boy, why was everyone kissing his feet? And that barren mountain slope was bought for barely a few taels of silver. The one Lin Zifan chose. He originally wanted to trick the kid completely, but instead, Lin Zifan got lucky and made an absolute fortune. This absolutely cannot be allowed to continue. It is just a lucky coincidence. He only produced a tiny piece. Just think about it. This entire kill is absolutely huge. It should produce dozens of pounds at once. So why did he only bring out one tiny chunk? Lin Zifan, what do you say to that? That sneering, sarcastic voice echoed from nearby. Everyone turned around and saw Li Danu standing there, with a deeply frustrated look on his face. Some folks already doubted Lin Zifan's actual skills, and after hearing Li Danu's words, they quickly chose to believe him instead. Now, all eyes locked straight onto Lin Zifan. Waiting for his answer, Lin Zifan stared back at Li Danu, with a pretty chilling stare. To pull in some massive wealth down the road, he needed to hire a whole crew, and his fellow villagers were the perfect fit. If they came around buttering him up, he could hire them later on, and they would be grateful. But if he went out begging them to work, it would look like he was asking for favors, which completely kills his leverage. Enter Li Danu, making this simple setup way more complicated. What if there is way more than just this tiny piece? Lin Zifan asked pretty coldly. I remember someone bragging that if I actually made real lime, he would chop his own head off and kick it like a ball. And right here, watch his face completely freeze up. When he really thinks back, he realizes he absolutely did say those words. In that moment, he was just furious about getting slapped earlier that afternoon. So he talked pretty big. But who could have guessed that Lin Zifan, this country kid, could actually produce real lime? But hey, no big deal. If he just plays dumb and denies everything, he can easily wiggle out of it. After all, Lin Zifan has zero actual proof. And even if he did, he would not actually slice him. He has lived for decades. And when it comes to being totally shameless, Lin Zifan is not even on his level. Yeah, I think I heard that too. Heard it too. It seems Li Danu said that before he could even talk. And you know these villagers love a good, chaotic show. Li Danu's face goes totally pale, and he silently curses every single one of their ancestors. But with the whole crowd shouting, playing his shameless card is absolutely not working anymore. If he pushes it, his reputation is completely ruined. Since it is a small village, he does not want to walk around hanging his head. For the next 6 months, haha, he figured it was just a tiny fluke of lime. After thinking it over for a quick minute, Li Danu finally came up with a scheme. Since Lin Zifan only made one piece, if he just stubbornly kept attacking that point, he might actually wiggle his way out. That way, he could salvage his pride. If my kill actually has more lime inside, what then? Lin Zifan folded his arms, giving Li Danu a pretty smug, mocking look. Since you care so much about your reputation, that honestly makes this much easier. I was going to play nice with you, but now I will not even bother saving face. Alright, let us do this. We are neighbors in the same village, so I won't demand your head as payment. Instead, let us wager 2 taels of silver on whether there is more lime in my kill. So, what do you say to that? Li Danu started sweating. Our MC seemed way too confident, meaning there might actually be lime in there. Normally, he would never take such a massive risk, but with all the villagers staring at him, if he backed out right now, he would be the joke of the town. And honestly, do you think this kid is just bluffing? It was pitch black out, so there is no way he even knows what is inside. Besides, making lime is hard. There is no doubt the kid is just bluffing. He is just way too green. Right then, the crowd started cheering again. Take the bet, do it. Li Danu, hurry up and wager. Don't be scared. The farmers only knew hard work, eating and sleeping with absolutely no real fun. So, when a massive show started, they definitely did not want it to stop. Screw it, I am in. I might just walk away with 2 taels. Li Danu gritted his teeth and growled. I'll bet. Who is scared of you? Seeing Li Danu finally agree. Just watch. A smug smile creeps onto Lin Zifan's face. Since you chose to save face, The silver is mine to make the lime. It all depends on heat and time. Since he already made one perfect piece, it means the temperature was pretty close to perfect, so there must be plenty more lime left inside. But get this. Lin Zifan had spotted several more stones, which were likely also pure lime. He just had not had the time to grab them. Husband, let me go check again. Yu Yanyan volunteered. Be careful not to get burned. Make sure to grab every single piece of lime inside, so certain people cannot make any excuses. Seeing Liu Yanyan so eager to help, Lin Zifan agreed, as anyone could do it. His weak body could not carry that much weight all at once. Lin Zifan, do not get too cocky with me. The winner is not decided yet. When Li Danu heard Lin Zifan, clearly targeting him directly, he quickly snapped back but lacked real confidence, staring deep into Lin Zifan's eyes, hoping to find some fear to ease his own mind. Unfortunately, those eyes held nothing but absolute, calm confidence. Yu Yanyan did not keep them waiting. Soon she emerged, looking dusty and quite tired, clutching 7 or 8 pieces of lime close to her. Husband, this is all of it. Yu Yanyan panted, setting the pile down, wiping the heavy sweat from her brow with her sleeve. The kiln had just finished burning the lime, making the heat inside much worse than outside. Lin Zifan felt some sympathy. Going from freezing cold to blistering heat was incredibly tough on her. If she fell ill, it would be troublesome. For such exhausting labor, he really should have hired outsiders. Only their own clan should keep their core techniques. Sweetheart, you worked really hard. Lin Zifan immediately steps forward, carefully lifting his sleeve up, to help Luo Yanyan wipe dust off her face. But honestly, it was better not wiping at all. Once he did, Luo Yanyan's dusty face got pretty black and messy, looking somehow just like a cute little black cat. Everyone, including Lu Shushu and the others, just could not help laughing out loud. Onlooking villagers also started to smile. The women who walked over looked at Lin Zifan with pure envy, then back at Luo Yanyan's dirty face. Their deep admiration was pretty hard to hide. Lin Zifan actually managed to make lime, and quite a lot of it, too. Just wait, things are about to get way better. His thin wives who looked skinny as monkeys obviously could not bear children. Why were these unwanted women suddenly so lucky? Be happier than they were. Their future would not only be much better, but they would be wealthier with husbands who cared. They worked so hard at home, but even when completely worn out, their husbands never said one kind word. Sometimes they even beat and kicked them. Seeing the fresh slime pile up, Lu Shushu and the others looked so excited. First, their husbands earned 2 taels of silver. That could buy over 3 shy of good grain. Second, this slime was surprisingly high quality. Since it was only their first time making it, they did not put much limestone in the furnace. Now, just check this out. At least 1/3 of that limestone had turned into lime. Remember, this was only their first attempt. With constant improvements, the yield would definitely skyrocket. Soon they would not have to worry about food. This was clearly not a lie. Lin Zifan might actually know the real secret. But is lime really that valuable? Think of it this way. Just 1 jin of lime trades for 1.5 jin. Of course, grain. Do you honestly think that is worth something? Does this mean Zifan is going to become absolutely filthy rich? Zifan, my granddaughter is 17. Just like that Liu Sheshu in your family. She is highly hardworking. Would you consider her? But hearing that last sneaky comment, Lin Zifan's eyes light up. He is ready to discuss more. When he catches Li Danu sneaking away silently from the crowd while everyone is happily chatting away, so nobody pays him any attention. Uncle Danu, do not run off. When will you send those 2 taels of silver? Guilty, Li Danu jumps in total shock when he hears his name. Panicking, he instantly triggers a burst of laughter. Li Danu wipes the cold sweat from his face, grunting. Humph, you do not need to worry. I will definitely give you that silver. Suddenly, a nasty idea hits him. That land belongs to Lin Zifan now, and he knows he cannot ever get it back. But he can still find a way to make Lin Zifan give that land back to the village. What he cannot have, he will make sure Lin Zifan does not get. Zifan, you know, these years have been filled with endless war and taxes. If a slight drought hits, so many of our fellow villagers will surely die. This mine originally belonged to the village, so why do you not return it? Just look at them. The villagers' eyes instantly light up. If that mine becomes village property, everyone in the village could earn serious money from it. Suddenly, all eyes turn to Lin Zifan. The mine is legally his, written clearly in black and white. If he refuses to give it up, absolutely nobody can force him. The village chief considers this for a long moment, and finally speaks, Zifan. That massive mine is way too big for you to work alone. What if you just hand it back over to our village? We will pull 30 taels of silver for the trade. How does that sound? The chief asked, stroking his beard. He looked up as he spoke. Surely that offer was pretty tempting, he thought. After all, Lin Zifan had grown up quite poor. He had likely never seen that much silver. This money could buy him a way bigger house, get lots of new clothes, and still keep plenty left over for any harsh winter. But to his shock, Zifan refused right away. No, I actually have no plans to surrender this mine. This treasure was in his hands now, and very soon. It would be worth thousands of taels. Would you ever let them take your treasure for pocket change? The chief frowned deeply, fearing his offer was too low. He gritted his teeth to negotiate. Fine, we will scrape together 40 taels of silver instead. Plus, you will get a nice share of future profits. Zifan, our neighbors are struggling quite a bit too. We truly cannot raise more. Forget it, Uncle Lee. I am keeping the mine, it is quite useful. Lin Zifan kept smiling. Softly, he politely turned down the request. The chief had always treated him well. Even now, he only negotiated kindly. Somehow, he could not just ignore the chief like Danu. Check out how Danu is using everyone like tools here. That was incredibly ruthless. Zifan, why not just return the mine to our village? Your family cannot possibly hope to work that massive space alone. Exactly, and you still have to farm your own land. There is simply no time. Let the village run things. It is better for everyone, Zifan. We will even sell our own household belongings, even if we must sell our valuables, just to raise 40 taels of silver for you. Now the nearby villagers want into, pressuring poor Lin Zifan to hand over his mine. Our main guy just scowls at them. I am not giving it up, but even if I did, do you guys actually know how to make quicklime? Dead silence from the crowd. Making quicklime? Absolute joke. Most of these guys have never even operated a basic kiln, let alone produce actual quicklime. That craft requires some serious, specialized skills. If anyone actually knew it, they would secure a high-paying city job, live comfortably, feeding their whole family for generations. If it were really that easy to master, why would anyone still farm here? Since nobody speaks up, Lin Zifan presses on. If you cannot even produce the stuff, what good is a mine to you anyway? You would just be selling raw stones. And the price of stone. It is not even a third of what quicklime brings in. Plus you have to dig them out and haul them to town. And honestly, is that even worth it? That 10-kilometer trek from here to the market town forces you over steep hills. A normal person can only carry 20 or 30 pounds. Even with a hand cart, making that trip back and forth, you probably will not make it. Cheap rocks mean this whole brutal journey pays way less than working your crops. They actually hesitate. His logic is pretty solid. Taking the mine would yield nothing. They would barely make a dime. Spotting their hesitation, he seals the deal. He speaks up again. Do not worry. I am going to help everyone get rich together soon. That wins them over. But Li Danu is miserable. If Lin Zifan strikes it rich, won't he come looking for payback? Would you feel safe in his shoes? He shouts, do not let this guy fool you. Look, we had great weather this year, but if a severe drought hits and the crops fail, you'll survive purely by selling rocks. Li Danu quickly stepped in, calling the idea ridiculous. In a drought, even with money, you won't even find food to buy. Lin Zifan snapped back instantly. In severe droughts, grain prices absolutely skyrocket, so even wealthy folks can still end up starving to death. Li Danu tried to argue back, but the village chief quickly cut him off. Raising his hand, he warned Danu, that's enough. This stone mine belongs to Lin Zifan anyway. Sharing it is just a generous favor, and keeping it is entirely his own right. Plus, even if we got the mine, we won't earn anything. They sighed, and honestly, who can blame them? Before quietly heading back to their homes. But they weren't actually sighing because of him, without giving it away, but because a massive payday just slipped away. Once the crowd cleared, Lu Sisi rushed over. Husband, you're absolutely amazing. You actually did it. A sweet, fresh scent drifted with her voice, and she leaned gently into his chest. Lin Zifan instinctively pulled her close. Lu Sisi felt incredibly soft, almost like she had no bones, making her feel extremely comfortable. Of course, look who your amazing husband is. He proudly held his head high, sniffing her hair. Honestly, they're just too sweet. Can we really eat our fill every day if we make this? Lu Sisi blinked her huge eyes, holding him tightly with pure hope in her gaze. This sudden joy came so fast. She could barely even believe it was real. Just 2 days ago, she was starving. Lin Zifan found her cute expression absolutely hilarious. He gently patted her head with a smile. Of course, I promise you'll always have a completely full belly. And we'll have delicious meat at every single meal, until you get totally sick of it. Lucci was cheering so happily. That is amazing. We get meat every single day now. Everyone was laughing at Lucci's beaming face, but they also felt genuinely happy. From now on, as long as they worked hard, eating well every day, to them, that was something they had never even dared to imagine before. But by the way, we have a major task tonight, Lin Zifan said with a knowing smile. Huh? What task? Li Sharon asked, deeply curious. It was already pretty late tonight, so they could not keep making lime. Their house was already almost fully tittied, so she honestly could not think of anything else. Seeing their intense curiosity, Lin Zifan casually said, catching a thief. Wait, a thief? Where would they even come from? Stealing is a genuinely terrible act here. The village has an ancient rule. If anyone is caught stealing, they are either banished, or in extreme cases, literally executed on the spot. So unless there is a famine causing absolute starvation, nobody in this village would ever steal. As for outsiders, that is even less likely. Besides, their house is so poor that average thieves would not even bother looking. All their actual food is kept safe inside. So even if someone snooped around, they would only see some firewood and random stones. Husband, where could this thief possibly come from? Everyone pondered this for quite a while, but they simply could not figure out where a thief would find anything worth stealing. Li Danu, seeing that I can produce lime, is definitely going to get pretty jealous. He probably thinks that since I can make it, he can easily figure it out too. Maybe he will even convince the village into taking my land back, so I am certain he will slip into the mine tonight to steal some stones and try to crack the process himself. Lin Zifan calmly shared his theory. Hearing this, everyone finally gets the picture. Knowing how Li Danu acts, he will definitely try to steal something from us tonight. You are so smart, husband. Lu Sisi praised him with admiration. Tonight is it? We will catch him red-handed, and then we drag him right to the village chief, following our village rules. He is getting kicked out for good. With his lazy, greedy attitude, he won't survive a single day out there. Yu Yanyan cheered with excitement. She had despised Li Danu for ages, especially with his nasty face and foul mouth. Yes, let's team up and banish him together. Lu Sisi eagerly nodded along. She casually grabbed a stick and swung it hard, picturing Li Danu begging in some desolate place. No, kicking him out tonight is a terrible idea. If he visits the mine to steal, catching him in the act is not going to cut it. We still lack proof, Lin Zifan pointed out after thinking for a moment. Remember, this isn't modern times. There are no security cameras here to record proof. So even if we trap Li Danu, as long as he stubbornly refuses to admit his crime, we can't prove a thing. Hearing this, Lu Yanyan and Lu Sisi looked totally crushed. Honestly, that is a total buzzkill. Lu Sharon thought about this for a brief moment. Then her eyes lit up instantly. A sudden brilliant idea. We should bring the village chief along. If he watches it happen, he's our witness, right? Even if the chief watches it with us, it is still incredibly tough to prove the theft. Lu Shur gently shook her head. If just any random household and the chief testify together, framing an innocent person would be too easy. But do not worry, when we corner him, we will just beat him until he surrenders the silver. He will have absolutely nowhere to run, since he was the one who stole first anyway. Lin Zifan thinks for a moment, and cooks up a pretty good plan. It might not stop future trouble completely, but it will definitely let them blow off steam. Love that idea, let's go with it. Li Yanyan squeezes her fists tight, ready to strike. Slam, crash, shatter, loud breaking noises echo, ringing out from inside Li Danu's house. I am absolutely losing my mind here. Lin Zifan, that tiny little brat, swindled me out of 6 silver taels in only 2 short days. Li Danu kicks the nearby table right over. His place is a total disaster now. Literally everything inside is smashed up. Tables and chairs are completely trashed on the floor. He cannot comprehend how Lin Zifan, a basic village kid, got this ridiculously lucky. Danu originally tricked him into picking a plot of land that was totally worthless. But it turns out there was a hidden limestone mine there. The kid just tosses some rocks into a kiln, and somehow makes pure lime. He only chose that rich land because of my guidance. Instead of showing even a bit of gratitude, he just keeps mocking and provoking me. That annoying country bumpkin is driving me insane. And here's the best part. He punches the table. Crack, ow. The wood snaps loud and fast, instantly followed by Lee Danu shrieking in agony. Lee Danu clutches his hand, crouching low on the ground, groaning in pain. He was so unbelievably angry earlier that he used far too much force. Plus, his body was already pretty weak, and now he feels like his bones are completely shattered. A sharp, icy pain shoots through him. Cold sweat drips down his face. Get out here right now and massage my hand. Lee Danu barks out to his wife. See, Danu's temper was already pretty awful, constantly yelling at or beating his poor wife, and now that he is completely furious. The women were shaking with sheer terror. None of them dared step forward. Seeing his face completely twisted in fury, the women shuddered even harder now. Are you all dead? Can't you see I'm literally dying of pain here? Get over here, Lee Danu roared fiercely, making the poor women even more terrified. Somebody gave a rough push, sending a young woman stumbling forward. Lee Danu glared at her intensely. Terrified, she had no choice but to step forward. She approached him trembling, bending down to blow on his raw injury. But man, she was so nervous, accidentally touching his sore wound again. Then, slap. A brutal slap rang out, knocking the poor woman flat onto the ground. She fell awkwardly, called completely useless. Get out of here, Lee Danu roared. The young woman quickly scrambled up, sobbing heavily as she fled back inside her room. Hot tears streamed down her cheeks, yet she didn't dare make a single sound. Ever since entering this household, she worked relentlessly day and night, and yet, she could barely get enough food, even though there was plenty of food around. On top of that, she also endured Lee Danu's constant, harsh, unjust screaming and beatings. But thinking of tonight, when Lin Zifan lovingly wiped the dust off his wife, no wonder she felt so broken inside. Why were other husbands so incredibly young, good-looking and sweet, while her husband was just lazy and useless, beating her up day after day? But she had to swallow all this bitter resentment. Back in the outer hall, Lee Danu sat on the floor, his burning rage still not cooling down. After a moment, a mouse noticed the quiet in the hall, and suddenly rushed out from the shadows, darting straight outside. Damn it, it's stealing grain again. Lee Danu blew his top again, shaking with pure rage. He desperately looked around for any tool, but there was nothing close by. So he quickly ripped off his shoe and chucked it with all his strength. But the fast little mouse dodged it easily. Before taking off, it looked back and squeaked at Lee Danu, totally mocking his pathetic attempt. Damn it, Lee Danu wanted to give chase, but when he stood up, gasping wildly for air, he nearly blacked out. Lately, absolutely everything was going downhill, leaving his temper pretty damn unstable. Honestly, he is completely at his breaking point here, and that mouse still wouldn't leave, just teasingly wagging its tail at him, stealing his food constantly. Then, a thought hit him. He slapped his forehead. Lee Danu could just steal some limestone. See, the only reason Lin Xiaofan persuaded everyone was because they had no clue how to make lime. So visiting the mine was pretty much useless. But if Lee Danu figured out the process himself, he'd have a pretty solid reason to demand that the village hands over the mine. If a clumsy guy like Lin Xiaofan managed, surely his own superior brain could easily do the same. He just needed to get his hands on materials. Making lime should be quite easy. He felt quite sure that stealing some stones for a trial and testing them would unlock the secret. Once that happened, the mine would have to surrender, giving him everything. He'd not only win over the entire village, but he'd also rake in a massive pile of cash. A pretty solid plan, right? The whole scheme was coming together beautifully now. He immediately decided to make his move tonight. In a dark corner of the mine, 6 figures lay flat on the ground, watching closely. It was actually Lin Xiaofan's entire family. Luyan was holding a cloth bag over her head, staring wearily at the high moon up in the sky. A gentle breeze blows, causing her to yawn. Hey husband, do you think Lee Danu will actually show up? Lin Zifan stares out at the completely empty mountain. He is pretty unsure about it too. With Danu's greedy personality, he should definitely show up tonight. Did I overestimate him? What if he is not even planning to steal this ore? Let's wait just a bit longer. Maybe he will change his mind. Lin Zifan sighs. We have waited so long. Giving up now means all this hard work goes down the drain. Meanwhile, Lucisi is on lookout duty. She is absolutely exhausted. Resting her chin on her wooden stick, she struggles, desperately fighting off the heavy sleep. Just 30 minutes ago, the entire group slipped onto the hillside to hide. She thought catching a thief would be totally awesome. so she eagerly volunteered to pull guard duty. Honestly, who knew stackouts could be this boring? No, stay awake. Lucisi vigorously shakes her head, forcing her eyes wide open. She peers into the dark distance. Just then, a shadowy figure suddenly emerges far away. Lucisi rubs her eyes, making sure she isn't seeing things. Her face lights up as she whispers, "Someone is finally here." Instantly, everyone tenses up, gripping their wooden weapons. Lu Yanyan tightly clutches her mysterious cloth bag too. By the way, Yanyan, what exactly is packed inside that cloth bag of yours? Lucisi asks, barely holding back her laughter. Yanyan hugs her bag close, looking dead serious. Her intense look is hilarious. What do you know? Lu Yanyan playfully rolls her eyes at her. This adds a much-needed sense of proper ceremony to this. We aren't robbers, but close enough. Shh, they are coming. And look, he is creeping closer. It is Li Danu, looking pretty sketchy. He's got a hoe, sneaking around nearby, and he finally spots a good mining location, and just starts swinging his hoe around. He seems happy, whispering and grinning like a crazy villain. But honestly, hoes suck for mining. Hard stone makes it impossible. After grinding for quite some time, he finally chips a tiny piece loose. Exhausted, Li Danu wipes the sweat off his forehead, only to see his tool is already chipped. One more hit and it will snap. Damn it, another good tool ruined. Curse you, Lindsay fan. I will tear you apart. Right in the middle of cursing, he suddenly feels a bag thrown over his head, and everything goes black. Catch the silver stealing thief. A sweet female voice rings out nearby, screaming for help. Before he can even say a word, a barrage of heavy sticks starts raining down. Ah, stop hitting me. I am no thief, spare me please. Don't beat me. Li Danu gets thrashed until his head is spinning. He is just rolling around begging. But the beatings do not stop, we all know his pain. Instead, the blows get even harder. Stop stealing silver, you thief. Please stop, I admit I was wrong. No more stealing, please. Li Danu completely stops fighting back on the dirt. That heavy cloth bag is still over his head. Whenever he tries to reach up and pull the sack off, heavy sticks rain down on his fingers. He is quite sure this is a misunderstanding. After all, he only stole a piece of ore. He has not seen any silver today. Lindsay Fan sees his victim is about to pass out. He raises his hand, signaling a stop. Hand over all the stolen silver right now. Lindsay Fan pinches his nose to disguise his voice, but his acting is pretty clumsy, guys. And Li Danu immediately recognizes the voice. Is that you, Zifan? It is me, Uncle Danu. He denied it, looking pretty embarrassed. Lin Zifan coughed, clearing his throat to speak. I am not Zifan, seriously. Just call me Liu Ergu instead. Lin Zifan raised his stick and whacked him. Not again, Zifan. Li Danu desperately tried to explain himself, but a flurry of blows cut him off. Okay. I was wrong. You are Liu Ergu, not Zifan. Li Danu simply could not take any more beatings. He held his nose and confessed, but I did not steal anything. I just wanted a cool stone to play with. Nonsense. The 2 silver tails I left here vanished. Since you are the only one around here, it must be you who took them. Lindsay Fan accused him firmly. Some local women nearby started giggling quietly. I really did not take anything. Big brother, stop all. Okay, I took it. I will give it back to you right now. Li Danu still tried to resist, and yep, he immediately got another brutal beating. I took it. I will return it. Please stop hitting me. Li Danu searched his pockets, muttering softly. Terrified of getting beaten up even more, he finally pulled the silver tails from his pocket, deep inside his pants, where he kept his savings safe. Most villagers always carried their money around. How dare you steal? Take this as a lesson. The angry crowd beat Li Danu a bit longer, before finally leaving satisfied. Sister Yanyan, why did you take my stick? Lu Sisi grumbled, looking pretty annoyed. After Lu Yanyan finally caught that thief Li Danu, she snatched Lu Sisi's weapon away. You are too weak, your hits do not hurt. Talk about brutal. Anyway, the next morning, Lindsay Fan opened his eyes. By now, the sun was already shining quite brightly. He stretched lazily, feeling quite heavy-headed. Staying up late the night before had caught up with him. So you slept until now, husband. You are awake, Lu Sure saw Lin Zifan wake up, holding a warm basin of water. With a clean towel over her shoulder, she walked over and placed the basin by his bed, then gently started washing Lin Zifan's face. Sure, I can do this myself, Lin Zifan said, enjoying the sweet moment but feeling a bit shy. Just 2 days ago, he was just some single guy working in the city. But check this out, after only 2 days, he wakes up to a stunning wife washing his face. Husband, you really shouldn't do such small chores. Besides, you worked so hard in town yesterday making lime. Already exhausted, let us pamper you instead. Lin Zifan sighed. It seemed his only choice was to enjoy this. After a quick wash and a warm breakfast, Lin Zifan got ready to make more lime. But before he could even stand, a knock rattled the door. I am coming, Shi said. Shi quickly hurried over to open the door. Lin Zifan was genuinely puzzled. Like, who would even visit him now? Especially after last night's chaos. That Li Irma and Li Deno had completely cut ties with him. Besides, his past self was always bedridden, so he barely knew anyone else in this village. No matter how he racked his brain, he was clueless. So he decided to go check for himself. When the door swung open, a middle-aged man stood there. He was clad in animal hides, waiting outside. Standing there in his 30s or 40s, nearly 1.8 meters. He had a scarred face and an incredibly muscular build. He clutched a puffed-up cloth bag in one hand. Lin Zifan quickly searched through his past memories. It was pretty clear this guy wasn't a local. Father, why are you here? Lu Shi asked in shock, leaving Lin Zifan even more deeply confused. He suddenly realized what was going on. He paused for a moment, smiled, and spoke. Father-in-law, please come on inside. Normally, once a daughter gets married, her own family rarely interferes. He is probably here for Luergu, right? But no matter his reason, he was still his father-in-law, so he could not ignore proper manners. Lu Shisha's father was named Lu Chang, a veteran hunter who stepped into the courtyard. Lu Chang looked around and saw a rather old house, with a pile of stones on one side, and firewood stacked on the other. Once they stepped inside, Lin Zifan warmly invited Lu Chang to sit, as Ishiran quickly cleaned up and cleared the leftovers from the table. Lu Chang stared at the leftover rice and swallowed hard, completely desperate to save his son. He had been traveling since dawn and had not eaten a single bite. The reason he arrived this late was simply because he did not know the area and kept taking wrong turns. My dear father-in-law, I never expected you to visit my humble home. I have nothing prepared. Lin Zifan smiled as he spoke first. Oh, it is totally fine. I should have let you know. Sorry for the sudden visit. They kept exchanging polite, hollow pleasantries, but neither dares to bring up the real issue. Lin Zifan could not just offer to release Luergu, since it would look like he was flattering the Lu family. Lu Chang had planned to offer some food. He brought, and then asked to free Luergu, so everyone could save some face. But seeing the high-quality grains and fresh meat in Lin Zifan's home, he realized it would be embarrassing to show off his own cheap, meager supplies, especially since they had just finished a feast. The house still smelled of rich meat. Lu Chang had started traveling early. Having skipped breakfast, that savory aroma hit hard. It was pretty tempting, making his stomach growl. Dad, you have not eaten anything yet. I will ask Shi to make you some food. Lin Zifan noticed the older man's awkwardness and quickly broke the tense silence. Shi, go bring some food for your dad. Please, do not trouble yourself. Lu Chang quickly declined. He was actually here to ask for a favor. It felt quite wrong letting them cook for him. Dad, just eat a little bit, Lu Shi insisted. She scooped up some leftover morning rice into a clean bowl, pouring two generous spoonfuls of broth on top, and added some thick pieces of meat before placing the bowl on the table. You can practically feel his relief seeing how graceful she looks. Lu Chang felt a deep sense of relief. Shi, I am the one who failed you and your sisters, Lu Chang admitted, his voice heavy with regret. But seeing that you are all doing quite well, it feels like a massive weight has been lifted from me. And check this out, our guy definitely knows something is up. He had always wanted to know about her family. Specifically, what happened after her mother passed away. Your aunt forced me to send the three of you away. She even threatened her own life. You suffered terribly all these years. I brought this grain for you today. It might not seem like very much. Lu Chang opened the simple cloth bag in his hands, revealing about 30 to 40 jin of grain inside. It was a mix of grains, just basic food for an ordinary family. But with the war going on, this was pretty generous. With heavy taxes and looming famine, these 30 or 40 jin of grain could literally save lives. But for Lin Zifan's wealthy household, it was barely anything at all. That is all in the past, and you really helped us too. Deep down, Lu Shi did not hold a major grudge. Even with her father kicking them out, he still gave them some land and food. If he caught extra game, he would send some over. He did his absolute best to help them. Back in those days, most fathers would have abandoned their daughters. Honestly, the ones she actually hated, her aunt and brother. The food is getting cold. Dad, you should eat first. Lu Chang looked at Lu Shishir, seeing no real bitterness in her eyes. He felt a wave of relief looking at the meal. Simple food made Lu Chang swallow hard. Since that is the case, I won't hold back. The food was served. Not eating would be rude. Thinking this, Lu Chang finally began to eat. After finishing, he hesitated to speak. Our family Luergo was wrong yesterday. He has been spoiled since he was young. I want to apologize now. Also, I would like to ask your help. Please help get him released. After all, Lin Zifan was the victim yesterday. But if Lin Zifan went to the officials and gave some money, it would not be hard to free Luergo. Lin Zifan pointed out that Luergo insulted Sure the very moment he saw them yesterday. It was like encountering an actual enemy. I honestly do not mind forgiving him, but only if Lu Shishir is willing. He initially planned to let Luergo rot in jail and fend for himself, but his father-in-law came with gifts, making it pretty rude to just refuse. However, he had no right to forgive Luergo for Lu Shishir, so he left the final choice up to her. Lu Shishir, what do you think we should do? Lu Chang looked deeply uncomfortable, knowing exactly how Luergo had treated Lu Shishir and her sisters, beating and insulting them. Right out on the street, Luergo started insulting her once again, making it pretty hard for Lu Shishir to forgive him. She glanced over at her clearly distressed father, and her face instantly showed a torn expression. She wanted to punish Luergo severely. She honestly wouldn't even care if he rotted in prison. But she couldn't stand seeing her father suffer through this. On one side stood revenge, and her father's happiness on the other. After a quiet moment, Lu Shishir finally made a choice and sighed deeply. Husband, we have already taught him a lesson. Let him go, but if he ever tries this again, we will absolutely never forgive him again. And honestly, her decision here is shocking. Compared to other brutal families, Lu Chang treated her three sisters and her mother pretty darn well. Even if he had to sell everything, Lu Chang would still find a way to save Luergo. She simply did not want her dad stressing over this. Sure. Lu Chang hesitated quite a long time before responding, before finally muttering his gratitude. Glancing at him, Lin Zifan forced a smile. Then Lu Yanyan and Lu Sisi finished their talk and came in beaming, especially Lu Sisi, who was bouncing around, calling her dad, saying she missed him. When Lu Yanyan was little, she always begged him to teach her hunting. As she got older, she always hunted alongside him, making their bond incredibly close. And Lu Sisi, being his youngest daughter, was easily his favorite and stayed incredibly close to him. When Lu Chang saw his two younger daughters did not hold any grudges over the past, and were still so close to him, he felt incredibly happy, but at the same time, feeling quite a bit of regret. You have to wonder, if he stood his ground, would they have ever been chased away? Luckily, over the 6 months since they split the family up, he made sure his three daughters were treated right. Otherwise, he probably would have regretted it for his entire life. Lu Chang's only comfort was seeing how wonderfully Lin Zifan treated his daughter. Plus he was pretty capable. With him, his daughter wouldn't have to suffer. The family kept chatting all the way until midday, finally getting ready to head out. Take care, Dad. Dad, I will really miss you. Saying goodbye was hard, and nobody wanted to part. Especially Lu Sisi, who was close to tears. This goodbye could mean they would never see each other again in this entire lifetime. And honestly, this is just how brutal things were back then. Most households did not treat their daughters very well, and once they married them off, contact was lost, and almost nobody visited the bride's family, since men ran absolutely everything in this society. If the husband did not give his permission, women could not visit their relatives. As the atmosphere grew heavier with sadness, Lin Zifan decided to break the heavy silence. All right. Once we finish up our current work, I will bring you back to visit your family. To him, letting a wife visit her home was completely normal. After marriage, really, husband, you are so kind. Lu Sisi quickly wiped away her unshed tears and hugged Lin Zifan tightly. Lin Zifan instinctively reached out to pat Lu Sisi's head, but noticed his father-in-law standing right there, so he stopped himself before they left. Lin Zifan cleaned out the clay kiln thoroughly, stocked up on stone and firewood, ready to start a fresh round of lime burning. His previous batch of lime was mostly a total failure, because it simply lacked cohesion. Taking a lesson from that failure, Lin Zifan added even more firewood. He scheduled the kiln opening for the day after. Tomorrow. He also noted down key details from his past 2 attempts at making lime. Since this world lacks paper, there are only bamboo slips. Lin Zifan really hates writing on those slips, and he has 0 paper at home. So he just scribbles on the dirt in his yard. He plans to make some real paper when he can, but right now, he must focus on making lime. With that task done, he prepares to head into town, because he is leaving pretty late today. The return trip could get dangerous. Fierce night beasts might be waiting on the road, so Liu Yanyan decides to go with him. 2 hunters join them, and Liu Yanyan packs a massive homemade bow. Lin Zifan feels completely safe now, even secretly hoping some wild beasts would actually try to attack. Fortunately, their journey turns out to be quite smooth. Once they arrive, they head straight to the government office and meet a constable named Chen. Lin Zifan looks over this guy. He has a mustache shaped like the number 8, is quite chubby, and wears a smooth, friendly smile. He looks pretty clever. If they had met anywhere else, honestly, our main character would have mistaken him for a sneaky merchant. Brother Chen, long time no see. Oh, is that you, Ji Chong? I almost did not recognize you. You look younger every day. Is this your daughter? She is quite spirited, just like you in your younger days. This constable, Chen and Lu Chong actually came from the same village. They are both super talkative, and the second they meet, chatting away like crazy, like lifelong best friends. Catching up, Lu Chong secretly slips some silver straight into Chen's hand, making sure absolutely nobody is watching. Brother Chen, I will not hide it from you. I really need a pretty big favor. My son was dragged off to the magistrate's office for fighting out on the streets. Do you think there is any way you can help? Lu Chong asks with a very humble smile, his voice sounding quite desperate. And watch this. Officer Chen slowly strokes his long beard. Since your boy fought in public, it is pretty tough, but let me see what I can do. He furrows his brows deeply, pretending to look for a solution. But after a long silence, he says absolutely nothing. Seeing this, Lu Chong grits his teeth in frustration and slides over another heavy piece of silver. That does the trick. Watch his greedy face light up. Look, Chong, this is still going to be quite difficult. We have 2 main issues. First, your son openly insulted the court officers. If I bribe some of my close colleagues, we can handle that. But the second issue is, the guy who got beaten must forgive him completely. If this had happened just a few years ago, we would not even need that. But things are way more strict nowadays. If the victim feels quite bitter and bangs on the complaint drum for justice, it will cause a massive headache for us. Saying this, Officer Chen squints his tiny eyes, scanning the area to ensure nobody is listening, before leaning in to whisper softly, my boss, Captain Bao, is incredibly honest, and if he finds out, it will be impossible to fix, assuming Lin Zifan is just some harmless bystander. Officer Chen speaks freely, without hiding a thing. Lin Zifan is pretty surprised that such an honest man actually exists around here. He immediately commits the captain's name to memory. Lu Chong quickly speaks up. Do not worry, brother. This young guy right here is the victim. He is my son-in-law, so this is just a big misunderstanding. Hearing this, Officer Chen carefully sizes up Lin Zifan. His clothes are pretty worn out and ragged. Clearly no wealth here. He is quite small, thin, and looks incredibly sickly. Definitely not worth flattering. Well, that makes things pretty easy for us. Just follow me to go pick him up, he says. Officer Chen does not hesitate and quickly agrees. To him, freeing someone is just a matter of a single command. Trading favors with colleagues was just standard procedure anyway. Very few government officials were actually honest. Everyone relied on some quiet little bribes to get by. Over time, this created an unwritten rule of mutual silence. Even Captain Bao could not do much about it. He could not just fire his entire staff, no matter how upright. He would not fight the whole department alone. But he still had his principles, and he would not let his men cross the line. If someone secretly let a prisoner go, causing outrage, or making someone beat the mournful drum, he would investigate thoroughly. Hey, is not that Captain Bao? Officer Chen's voice snaps Lin Zifan out of his thoughts. He looks up and spots a massive figure, a dark-faced man walking right toward them. He stands nearly 1.9 meters tall, dark-skinned and packing serious muscle, standing there with bare, muscular arms. He looks like a literal mountain. This is Captain Bao himself. He keeps a cold face, offering a tiny nod. Then he quickly sweeps past with fast strides. During this entire time, He never once looks directly at Officer Chin. Lin Zifan deeply despised men like that, especially opportunists like Officer Chin who only chase profit. But that dark-faced Bao Tiadin always seems to look sour, like everyone owes him money. He only got promoted for some achievements. What is so special about that? Once Captain Bao is far away, Officer Chen mutters quietly. Captain Bao despises people like him who seek profit, but he looks down on Captain Bao right back for not knowing how to handle people or navigate official circles. Soon, Captain Qian hides his annoyance and forces a smooth smile back on. Well then, let us go pick up everyone. Lin Zifan and Lu Yinyan really do not want to see Lu Ergu, so they skip the group and wander the city. They buy 4 jin of meat and head home, perhaps because they ate so well yesterday. Lin Zifan feels much stronger and hikes faster than before, reaching their house before the sun even sets. Some women are busy breaking stones, others are actively chopping firewood, while some are sewing clothes. The moment they see Lin Zifan return, they drop everything to greet him warmly. Over the next few days, I plan to build small furnaces out back to make quicklime so that I can figure out the best process. Over dinner, Lin Zifan shares this plan. Using their old home kiln for data will take way too much time. He envisions a furnace of 1 square meter, clay walls, firewood at the bottom, and stacking mineral stones on top. You know those survival videos we all watch from some wilderness survival channel? It looked pretty simple back then, which is why he remembers it perfectly. Still, this setup is definitely not suitable for making any actual lime, because it is too small, and probably cannot yield 5 jin at once. But for basic testing and gathering data, it should be plenty. But hubby, what kind of furnace are you talking about? Li Sharon asks, looking pretty doubtful. She has seriously never heard of another way to make quicklime beyond the traditional clay kiln. Lin Zifan pauses, thinking deeply, but explaining it clearly is pretty tough, so he just gives a rough sketch. Basically, a setup for baking quicklime. You dig a deep underground fire pit and build a tiny clay structure above to bake the lime inside. Li Sharon tries to process all this and finally gets what Lin Zifan is saying, but she's seriously never heard of this method. It's likely just her husband's sudden idea. Honestly, who can blame her for doubting this wild plan? If they truly want to speed up lime production, they definitely cannot rely on a single clay kiln. So she suggests building another traditional kiln instead. That way, the process goes much faster. Running to kilns at once will absolutely speed up their timeline. If Lin Zifan's furnace actually works, they can produce lime in 3 different spots, all at the exact same time. But she quickly sighs again because altogether, having only 3 spots to burn lime is still far too slow for them, and who knows when they will finally perfect this entire lime-making process. She isn't just being pessimistic, but making lime is genuinely a massive challenge. Don't worry, he says, I have a plan. Lin Zifan says, completely confident, right after swallowing a mouthful of food. Our backyard is pretty small, but building 10 furnaces here is totally doable. Running 10 of them together will help us perfect the lime process super fast. 10, that is completely impossible. Li Sharon hesitates, second-guessing the idea. Since these furnaces are meant for burning lime, they should be around the size of standard kilns, but their backyard is pretty tiny, having only a tiny bit of space. Fitting even one seems pretty tight, so how could they build 10? Even if they used up the whole backyard, it wouldn't fit 10 even with her capable husband. He is no fairy. There is no way he can conjure land out of nowhere. Right, husband? I also think our backyard only fits maybe 2. Lu Shushu agreed. Clearly, she didn't believe it either. Most of the backyard is completely cluttered, with piles of junk and trash. Plus, weeds are growing everywhere. There is barely any open space. Besides, the backyard is pretty small. Even after clearing out the junk and weeds, they could squeeze into furnaces at most. Seeing that nobody believed a word, Lin Zifan shook his head and doubled down. 10 is actually my lowest estimate. If we squeeze things a bit, we could probably fit 14 or 15. Are you kidding? Li Xiaoran completely lost faith. But looking at Lin Zifan's super serious face, it did not seem like he was joking. Could her husband really have some brand new trick? Li Xiaoran thought about it deeply, but could not see how to fit 10 lime burning setups on such a tiny plot of land. Lu Shushu also started wondering, thinking that Lin Zifan might not realize how small this yard really is. Lu Yanyan and Lu Sisi exchanged meaningful looks, but they could not make sense of it either. From Lin Zifan's perspective, though, they were simply not on the same page. Meanwhile, Li Xiaoshan just kept eating, holding back the urge to yell at Lin Zifan. After dinner, they all headed to the backyard. Lin Zifan calculated that about 20 square meters was usable for building, and building 10 furnaces. Oh, it was totally doable. Watch closely, I will only show this once. Remembering the steps clearly, the first step was mixing up the clay. First, he grabbed a bucket of water and scooped up some nearby soil, mixing the clay as the sun finally set. Though a faint twilight still lingered, Lin Zifan quickly calculated the time, figuring he could finish before complete darkness. But watch this. Li Shuren closely tracked his every single move, terrified of missing any small detail. Lin Zifan grabbed a sturdy shovel and started digging into the dirt, shaping two rectangular pits to store firewood. Next, he rolled some clay with his fingers, turning it into a large disc, then carefully set it into the pits to maximize the vital airflow. Lin Zifan used an amazing technique called invisible finger, punching several thumb-sized holes at the bottom. This fully completed the stove's solid base. Husband, your stove looks a bit too small. Is it really worth burning firewood in this? Lucy asked him with pure curiosity. With a tiny base like that, how many pounds of material can you actually process? Oh, I see now. My husband is using this clay kiln to experiment, finding the perfect temperature and time for firing, before building a massive kiln for actual production. Right? Li Shuren thought for a moment and finally understood. Her own family once owned a clay kiln, the absolute largest in their village, so she actually knew quite a bit. Yet, she had never seen her husband's unique method of making stoves. Despite her doubts, she had to admit his way was incredibly practical, saving massive amounts of time and trial costs. Lin Zifan nodded, pleased that Li Shuren showed real talent in this. Down the road, he might let her manage the lime burning process. He looked up at the sky, which was rapidly turning pitch black. To get that wet clay to dry faster, Lin Zifan threw some firewood into the pit and lit a fire. The heavy heat dried it fast. He was basically using extreme heat to force the clay to harden. If we actually do it like this, wouldn't making these clay pots and plates go way faster? Li Shuren was once again totally blown away. Back in this ancient era, most folks still shaped normal mud just to store their stuff. But because the wet clay stayed pretty sticky before drying, it usually took forever before they could actually use it. What if they baked it with fire right after shaping? That meant it would harden in almost no time at all. Her husband was honestly a complete genius. Look at him go, totally focused on building that clay kiln, carefully packing thick mud all around the edges of the base. He made the stove pretty wide on top, but much narrower at the bottom, shaping it like a classic water jar. He left a round hole at the top to easily drop in or pull out his test stones, while letting the air flow freely. Lin Zifan then patted down a thicker layer on top, smoothing the surface until it looked quite clean. After about the time it takes to finish a quick cup of tea, he tapped the sides a few times to make sure it was solid. It's done. Lin Zifan happily rubbed his hands together, watching the sunset fade while staring at his tiny creation. This mini boiler did not look like a traditional kiln at all. Plus, it barely held anything. Trying to process real lime in this thing was totally impossible. It would just be way too exhausting. But right now, they only wanted to find the perfect temperature for their experiments, so keeping it small was much easier. Husband, how on earth did you come up with this? Building a miniature stove just for testing. You are a genius. The ladies were completely mesmerized by Lin Zifan's clever ideas. Using this mini stove for tests meant they could run several tests at the same time, massively speeding up progress. It would also prevent them from wasting precious raw minerals. This single invention solved so many massive problems. And then, they had that trick for drying clay fast. Fire hardening techniques. If they could master that skill, crafting clay tools would be way faster. Sure, they already had some pretty tough ceramics, durable and beautiful, but regular folks just could not afford them. Most folks relied on basic clay, or just used raw bamboo. Just remember who you married, babe? Lin Zifan says, grinning proudly. It's getting late, let's head back inside. Otherwise, we will not see a thing. Cloudy nights out here get completely pitch black, and they would literally have to grope around. Maybe it was because of Lin Zifan's words bringing them some luck, but the second they stepped inside, darkness swallowed the entire yard. They quickly lit a tiny oil lamp on the table, which barely lit up the small room. 6 people packed inside this tiny room together felt surprisingly cozy and warm. But soon, you can tell things get pretty awkward. His 5 wives stand completely silent, heads down, not moving or going to bed, almost like they are being punished. Why are you not sleeping? After a silent moment, Lu Shishir speaks up with a blushing face. Husband, the bed is already made. And right there, it hits him. His face turns completely bright red. Though he lived nearly 30 years. Back in his past life, he died as a total virgin before coming here. Sure, he thought about this stuff, but he never quite felt ready for it. We've only been married 2 days, so maybe we can wait a little bit, Lin Zifan says, gently declining. But his wives do not plan to let him off easy. Blushing, Lu Shishir whispers to her husband, do not forget our baby-making quota. If you fail to meet it, in a few years, you'll be in deep trouble. Hearing about trouble, Lin Zifan hesitated. He instantly pictured those poor guys who got beaten half to death, and he slowly took a deep breath. Under all that heavy pressure and relentless persuasion, Lin Zifan agreed and made the most sensible choice. He chose Liu Shishi to enter the bridal chamber with him first. As for the other girls, they had to settle for being slightly uncomfortable and share the room next door. A chilly wind swept across the barren land, whipping up dead yellow leaves, stripping away almost all the warm colors from the earth. Achoo! Lin Zifan sneezed, sitting outside in the courtyard. That sudden sneeze actually made his lounge chair shake. In only 7 days, winter was already arriving, and the weather was getting much colder every day, especially during the chilly mornings and evenings. Husband, be careful not to catch a cold, Liu Shishi said as she walked out. She draped a warm black cotton coat over Lin Zifan, while gently squeezing his cold shoulder. Over the last 7 days, everyone worked incredibly hard, and everyone had bundled up in cotton coats. But Lin Zifan, he felt those heavy coats just limited his movement, and since it was not very cold, he outright refused to wear one right now. Seriously, their old house changed so much. The kitchen was no longer just a shaky, broken thatched hut, but a sturdy earthen house now. The main building and courtyard walls were fully repaired. No more leaking wind or freezing rain. Inside, they set up new beds with thick, warm quilts. Liu Shishi was sewing red cotton, padded jackets, using the fresh fabric they bought in town recently. Now check this out. Stoves filled the backyard. Li Shaoran was very interested in this setup, and once those stoves were fully built, she stayed around to help Lin Zifan. Lin Zifan was quite pleased with her dedication, so he slowly taught her how to manufacture lime, and more. He shared some wild industrial ideas from the 21st century. Honestly, how much she could actually grasp was pretty uncertain. After just a few days of guidance, Li Shaoran was already running these complex experiments alone, leaving Lin Zifan with some much-needed time to rest. Husband, it is done, Li Shaoran yelled out, her voice bursting with absolute excitement. She came sprinting out of the backyard, holding several fresh pieces of lime. Look, husband, the very first batch is completely finished. Check out this incredible quality. Lin Zifan quickly sat up from his comfortable lounge chair, staring intently at the bright white lime right before him. A big, proud smile spread across his face. Congratulations, Li Shishi said, smiling warmly alongside them. With the recipe finally perfected, we can already feel that sweet income stream. Lin Zifan casually picked up a couple of lime pieces, shaking them, feeling quite pleased with the result. Beautiful work. The quality is great, so these should sell incredibly fast. Did you record all the data? All their exhausting efforts over the past few days had paid off with these numbers. Now they could easily mass-produce lime. Of course, I remembered every single detail, Li Shaoran proudly replied. She showed him a wooden slab with the number 5, Shun clearly written on it. Level 5 fire started burning during the Shun hour yesterday. To keep tracking simple, Lin Zifan had placed a piece of marked wood right outside each furnace. This helped track roughly how much wood they added, and when it was burned, to see if it mattered. If it was useful, they kept it. Otherwise, they simply burned it, wasting absolutely no space. It was so much better than scratching notes on the dirt. Get ready, because now they can finally start mass-producing this stuff. Since the lime recipe was completed, Lin Zifan was ready to take the next big steps. He wanted to manufacture bleeding medicine alongside bulk lime. But to make it in huge amounts, they definitely needed several massive clay kilns. The house they considered was pretty small, and its location was definitely not ideal. So building clay kilns there was quite difficult. But wait, look at this huge, bright mansion right near the limestone mine, with tons of open space around it. If they just talked to the village chief, they could buy the house and the land. To build several proper kilns, Since it sat right below the limestone mountain, transport costs would drop like crazy. He already knew the exact price. 40 silver coins, which was totally reasonable, but he simply couldn't afford it yet. Next, he plans on brewing some healing medicine. Once he makes some cash, he can buy that mansion. Then, building those kins becomes way easier. Lin Zifan was completely confident. Oh, come on, Lin Zifan. Do you even know how much that costs? 40 silver coins. Where on earth will you find that much cash? Li Xiaochun muttered to herself. She had been keeping her doubts hidden. At first, she thought making lime was profitable. But after all this time, Lin Zifan had barely produced any of it. They couldn't even trade it for a single bag of rice. Honestly, she was completely losing hope in their future. She had been far too optimistic, believing that Lin Zifan, a struggling young man, had actually found a lime mine, and their family would finally strike it rich, at least secure a fortune for generations. But the harsh reality of ancient times hit hard. How much could they even produce in a day? With only a few workers, and it still required way more processing. Plus, Lin Zifan mentioned that building a proper kiln would cost a fortune, and right now, he didn't have any money. Everything just felt like a pipe dream. Just when she thought success was right there, reality hit Li Xiaochun like a truck. If you cannot speak, then shut up. Li Jiaran was absolutely furious. Her sister had actually been quiet lately, seeming to finally get it. But now, sister, we do not have enough money for a big house. Or build a kiln, Li Xiaochun cried sadly. She just wanted a better life. You need to trust our husband. Liu Shishi stared at Li Xiaochun with deep displeasure. I mean, she had never seen such a clueless woman. Luckily, their husband was very patient. If it were any other man, he would have thrown her out long ago. All right, enough. We are just experimenting right now. We must find the absolute best way to build this kiln. Lime is pretty cheap, so our first real profits won't come from selling lime, but from selling healing ointments. Lin Xiaofan was not angry. He was quite tolerant of Li Xiaochun. After all, they came from the exact same place. It made absolute sense that she felt somewhat insecure. Besides, in her eyes, he was her only hope. Honestly, it was better if she left. Liu Shishi's eyes lit up at his words. Husband, do you need any specific tools? I can prepare them. Before this, her husband claimed he could make medicine to stop bleeding, but she had not believed it. Lin Xiaofan had been dirt poor his entire life. He never went to school and was no doctor. How could he possibly make medicine? It was probably just empty talk. But you see, after spending these 8 or 9 days together, her whole view of Lin Xiaofan slowly shifted. Now, she truly felt her husband was somehow capable of absolutely anything. If he set his mind to something, he would surely succeed. Lin Xiaofan recalled the process from his previous life. To make this bleeding medicine, he needed to crush 4 herbs into juice. Using a bamboo tube to squeeze the herbs seemed smart, and squeeze them out manually, or even using a flat piece of wood to press them down. Next, he needed to prepare the lime powder. Since this era had no modern grinding tools, to get that perfect medicinal powder, first, he had to smash the lime. Then, he had to grind it using a stone mill. Honestly, if they didn't need this medicine so urgently, and the high price they would get, he would never have bothered. Once the powder was finally ready, he just had to soak it in the herbal extract. Then, dry it. Next, sift it. Still got big chunks. Grind them. Keep going until it looks like flour. That would be his completed hemostatic medicine. Now, you see, this is the easiest way to make it. But without any modern tools on hand, it is still quite a struggle. He just needed a basin, some fresh bamboo to squeeze out the clover, and a simple hammer to crush the lime. After thinking for a quick second, Lin Xiaofan took mental inventory of their home. They didn't even own a stone mill, so he would have to borrow one from the neighbors. As for a sieve, he could easily fashion one himself later. Do we really need bamboo? Li Sheshu asked, pausing. It wasn't like they lacked bamboo around the house. In fact, they had scraps left from making a chair, not long ago, but she couldn't understand why. They needed bamboo just to squeeze out herbal juice. Lin Xiaofan just smiled gently and replied, using bamboo makes the squeezing process much easier. You will see soon, husband. Just tell me what needs doing and I will do it. Sister Sheshu, you go ahead and get to work. Liuan Yuan had heard about the hemostatic medicine and eagerly rushed over to help them. Ever since Lin Xiaofan told her a few days back that they stopped needing to gather stones, Liuan Yuan had been left with absolutely nothing to do. She could only tailor clothes alongside Li Shushu and young Li Sisi, but quiet sewing work really wasn't her style. A few hours later, her fingers were covered in tiny red needle pricks. But with new chores waiting, she couldn't stop just yet. She ran to help anyway. Li Shushu just sighed gently. Her little sister might be married now, but that wild, fiery attitude hadn't changed one bit. Go ahead and crush these lime pieces into smaller bits. The finer, the better, okay? And take your time so you don't end up hurting yourself. Lin Zifan instructed. Li Yuan possessed incredible strength, which meant she blasted through the chore. Don't worry, husband. I've got this, so you can totally trust me. Li Yuan patted her chest to reassure him, clearly not taking his warning very seriously. She shrugged it off. After all, she was just crushing a bit of lime. What could possibly go wrong here? She set a massive chunk of lime right on the dirt, pinned it with one hand, and brought her heavy hammer crashing down with a loud bang. The stone immediately shattered into sharp pieces. A shard flew out, aiming right for Lin Zifan's face. Lin Zifan quickly lunged backward, barely dodging that dangerous flying rock. That handsome, flawless face of his was almost completely ruined. Honestly, I cannot trust you with anything now. Li Shushu happened to be carrying some bamboo nearby, witnessed the near miss and panicked. She scolded her sister with quite an angry tone. Li Yuan, watch what you're doing. My bad, Li Yuan muttered, rubbing her head, smiling sheepishly. She really hadn't expected the lime to break so easily. Husband, are you okay? Li Shushu rushed forward, cupping Lin Zifan's cheeks, and carefully examining him from left to right. Once she saw that her husband was completely unharmed, she could finally breathe easy again. I'm fine, he said, and seeing her face so close, Lin Zifan stole a quick kiss right on her lips. Suddenly, Li Shushu blushed, softly nudging Lin Zifan.